Let's get started.
Here we go. Now let's get it all in perspective. We did it like that, and now we do it like this. Do not attempt to adjust your dial. I'm transmitting live. Yo,
Let's get down to business.
now let's get it all in perspective. We did it like that, and now we do it like this.
All right.
For the underground world, every street and borough.
You may learn something.
You are now listening to the Joe Rogan Experience with Chico, Simon, Kamar, and your host, Matt Floyd.
Welcome to the Joe Rogan Experience. My name is Matt Floyd, joined as always by Kamar
Welcome to the party.
and Simon.
That sounded anti-Semitic to me. Hello, Matthew.
What we do here is very simple. The three of us have listened to every episode of the Joe Rogan Experience this week. We're going to rate each episode as well as the week on a scale of 1 to 5 Jamie Vernons. We're then going to talk about each guest, the talking points, give our opinions, this, that, and the next. But first, Kamar's going to go over all the new patrons.
And you know we have 3 of them.
Yeah. You know, it'd be incredible. It would be incredible if we got to a point where reading them out just became too cumbersome. Like there were too many.
Oh, if we just started running them on the screen really quickly.
Yeah. Just to, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that'd be the best.
Did you ever watch, you're too young. Did you ever watch that, Kamar, look at me. Did you...
Can't take him seriously. You shouldn't have asked him to look at you.
Did you ever watch that kid show where she would look through her magic mirror or whatever, and she'd say like, "I see Bobby."
Romper
and
room.
yes,
Yes,
you know
yes,
what I'm
yes.
talking about.
Yeah.
should have
You
hesitated
probably
a
never
little
got
bit.
it, obviously, because you're.
They
Kamar.
never said, "Where's Kamar?"
They
Oh,
never
wait,
said,
yeah,
"There's
yeah.
Kamar."
Probably not.
They never said, "There's Simon," which is crazy to me, or never that I
We have
saw.
that in common.
But if that were to have happened, it might have changed my life.
Had you been noticed?
If you feel that special that she looked through her magic mirror and saw you,
She definitely got Matt.
that's what we should do for these people when they donate.
Have a special mirror over here with their
just
name.
look-
Oh my God! So I'd be like, I'd turn like this and I'd go.
Yeah.
This week I want to give a shout out to.
Okay, you're talking to a fake mic while not talking to the real mic.
We're going to look at exactly how she does it. You're then going to dress like her and look through the mirror.
Oh, we pre-record that. Kamar's
See,
in a little
the
fairy
Got it.
outfit, and he
The
points.
Illuminati is trying to get me in the dress. Obviously, here comes
I
Hollywood.
think
Illuminati.
that's-
You mean the Jews?
Here comes Hollywood. Here comes Hollywood.
I very much believe you're building up to that on your own. That just seems like the inevitable fucking conclusion.
I mean,
Am
it is
I
true.
wrong
He's an
here?
Arab /
Start-
black man.
Started with the nails.
Oh yeah, you did it to yourself, didn't you? The Jew just pushed you over the limit. He presented you with the dress. It's dangling from his long claws.
He's lifting up his eyebrows at me.
Kamar, can you read the new patrons, please? You're doing this weird.
Yeah, right on. Shout out. If I did have a mirror with nothing in it and I couldn't make eye contact with the camera, I'd go, Samuel Nicholas, thank you very much. Who I think is on the other side of the world, which may make it round.
Shout out, Samuel.
Shout out to Jeffrey Epstein, who I think is from across the ocean. I thought he was dead. And finally, a big shout out to Kyle, who I think went away, came back, whatever. But join the Patreon for the post show. It's really the only way to support the show. Leave a comment, hit the subscribe button,
Shout out Kyle.
put on notifications.
And here will be a good soundbite. Shout out Jeffrey Epstein.
Why does that guy who lives in Australia have to be on the other side of the world?
Because that's where I'm told
He's
it
on
is.
the other side of
And I've been there.
the plane.
I don't know if I've ever mentioned this on this podcast,
Yeah,
but
I know,
have
but
been to
did
Australia.
you like fly
brought
upside
basketball.
down? You're like, oh, there we go.
Apparently.
Landed.
Apparently I did. I was upside down. Toilets went the opposite way. I couldn't really tell you that.
That has, I don't even get why that has anything to do with anything, but whatever.
What, toilet's going the other way?
Yeah, and if the world was round and Australia was on the other side of the earth, why does the toilet direction have anything to do with anything?
Because it's the wave, those swirl. I'm glad you brought that up because that's going to come up often in this episode.
Not this one.
No, not this one. As you asked who was on this week there, Matty, 2150 Grave Overton. And then we had 156, the MMA, which we don't do, but it was Royce Gracie. But I really feel like
Hoist.
we should have done it because he is that guy that was on that mat, the one we all saw, no weight classes. And you're like, who is this anaconda of a man? And now you see him in his
Royce
flesh.
Gracie sounds like a NASCAR driver.
Yeah.
Hey, Royce.
Compared to
Royce Gracie.
Hoist.
He don't lose.
Royce ain't lost in 2 years.
That was followed
If you
by
don't win, you lose.
2151 Rizwan Verk.
No way you said
There
that right.
is.
And then we finish off a podcast. I think I will this in a possibly existence, but maybe 2 episodes ago. 2152 Terrence Howard.
You willed this into existence.
1 times 1 is 2.
It feels like you're trying to fit like too many words into each sentence or something. I don't know.
Feel like you could have totally be that at the break.
Feel like I totally could have been at a break.
I'm finna try that later.
Turns out a Cajun man. All right, Kamar, well, let's rate the week, I guess. Simon, you want to start?
I mean, I'm gonna have to give this week a 3.8.
Wow.
3.8.
Pretty strong for you,
Yeah,
Kamar.
I think that's
I'm going to give it a legitimate 4.1.
4.1.
And
You know, there was 3 episodes, right?
stand by that I'm so happy with that right now we're doing this podcast when these episodes came out versus in another universe where I listen to these podcasts and just go about the day and try to blurt stuff out from it at people at work
Yes.
or someone I know who I
Yes.
care about.
Yes. Usually we just have to fabricate what to talk about.
everything-
And today it's going to come in fucking waterfalls.
Everything just came to like I almost want to say a 5. Like it's why I listened to the Joe Rogan in the first place.
Whoa, slow down. The third one has got to pull down the mark a little bit. You know what I mean?
No, it has it adds the shine in that it's a complete
No.
nobody from nowhere.
No.
Whatever.
I'm-
Wrong.
I'll
Any
stand.
man. Any man.
I'll stand by Kamar in the. At least it wasn't a comedian. Because I swear to God, if I hear another comedian blow smoke up their fucking pee hole, I'm going to be literally, I'm going to vomit on the program.
You know it's called glazing.
Yeah. Well, they're all fucking glazed donuts.
I mean, Sebastian was a nice change.
Yeah, Sebastian didn't have to glaze.
I mean, it just
Sans
felt,
glaze.
it felt like Sebastian thought he was on like a late night show. Yeah. And it was just a 2-hour late night show.
That he didn't want to be at.
Well, yeah. That was kind of what made it funny, I guess.
That's what I'm saying. I was like, I'm with you that most comedians are there to blow smoke.
That's a long way for a joke. You know what I mean, Maddie? 2 hours.
There's no length of time that's long enough for a joke.
There's no way that
Can't do this.
Just say the number. Can we start?
Clip this all
did you rate it?
Oh, I'll give it a 3, which is realistic because there's 3 episodes.
21
So I'm sorry.
Just hear me out, Simon.
I just want to clarify. You're going like a 4.42. Would that give you a 3?
Yeah, that does give you a 3.
I don't know. I'd have to do the math.
that doesn't. That would be like 3.5. No, I'm going more of like a. I can't give Terrence Howard a 5 or a 4. I didn't understand
You
how.
can't give him a 5, but you could give him a solid 4.
I understand why Kamar is giving him a 4 because Kamar's all aboard. He's on the train.
I don't even know where the train's going.
But
It's in the spirit of.
yes, it's all about the courage it took to come out. And it's like when what's his name was on trying to explain his theory. We didn't get it, but we knew it was really important to him, you know?
Or interesting.
Do you know who I'm talking about?
Eric Weinstein.
Thank you.
My point, Simon, remains that because I didn't, it's like a rap song where the beat's really good and the flow is good, but you don't understand anything
You can't
they're
understand
saying.
the words. Yeah.
Yeah, you know what I
It
mean?
was a
Like
problem.
That's what I'm saying. So I can't, in good
Well,
conscience.
that's why you can't give it a 5.
I didn't. I'm saying that's why it's probably more of like a 3.5, 3.5, 1.5
And what do you
type.
give to the simulation guy? Like, that's got to be right up your alley.
Again, 3.5.
I'm just shocked by that. Okay, sure. I mean,
He's
then
seen
fine.
better. He's seen better
And you
days.
give the other guy like a 1.5?
Yeah, I mean, you're right. I'd probably give the Vivek, or whatever his name is, probably gets a 4.
Vivek Ramaswamy?
Yeah.
Did you know there's a thing with some people in music, they don't hear the lyrics. They hear someone singing or rapping just as another instrument.
Weird.
What?
And that's why some people just can never remember the words of songs and other people
Weird.
can because they know what the words are.
Did I tell you?
Did you see that on like a TikTok or something?
No, I made it up.
Yeah, that doesn't sound right at all.
That I was smart enough to make that up.
That reminds me, did we talk about this? Do you know that I think it's 1 in 5 people has no inner dialogue?
Yes.
Aren't those the sociopaths?
Yeah, probably.
What do you mean? How do you not have an inner dialogue?
That's what I said. I did hear someone say, though, they were like, it makes sense because they were like, I have a friend who just says whatever comes to mind. And they're like, I think that's why. Because they have no inner
Yes, I know
dialogue,
people who do
they
that.
just like blurt out whatever's on their mind. But that's what I said. I was like,
Who do you know that does that?
I don't think I know anyone you know, but I work with
I don't
people.
know anybody who does
I
that.
work with, you don't have any people you work with that are
Just blurt out what they're thinking and don't like.
over the years?
can you imagine how
Consider
much work you would get done if you didn't have the constant horseshit dialogue going on in your head?
I saw a thing that there's a
Can you
certain-
even be creative without that inner dialogue? I don't think you can. I think that's like
That's interesting.
you're bouncing ideas off your wall.
But there's
you know?
certain frequencies that can quiet your inner dialogue to give you some
fucking
time to
medit-
yourself.
Listen, Terrence Howard.
Oh, I know
don't
it all
fucking
bleeds
start.
into another.
Sand
Let's
guru
get
over
this
here.
thing
Yeah, start
started,
it
guys.
off.
I gotta be right.
I got to be right.
2151
I don't even know.
Rizwan Verk.
There is.
nobody beats the Riz.
What's that from?
I don't remember.
Oh, that was The Wiz, though.
Yeah, that's
and
it,
it's
yeah.
from Can't Beat 'Em.
That's- yeah, it
What
still
is that
works,
from?
Simon.
Jesus Christ. Okay, anyways.
So he came in like a bat out of hell talking about simulation.
Yeah.
And I guess he is the author, and there may not be a Mandela effect discussion. Well, it was a thing that was around, but he coined it. Or no, he said someone else coined
No,
it,
someone else coined it.
but he put it in a book. And is brought
Good note.
it into existence. That it. I'm just trying to get it back. Who this guy? He made video games. I don't know what video games he made, but he's rich, so he doesn't really have. You wonder about motives, you know, like what's the grift when people tell you crazy shit or talk about.
Right. He doesn't need the money. He's certainly working with the right people because all the names he dropped, like Diana Pasulka, Gary Nolan, the French guy who I can never remember is Jacques Vallée.
I think the thing about the simulation is that what you're saying is like people have a tough time. It's like, what are you trying to sell me? You know what I mean? Like if someone's
What does
pushing,
this mean to
if someone's
me?
well, if someone's pushing religion on you, or if someone's talking about religion a lot, you feel like they're maybe trying to get you on board. Whereas when someone's talking about the simulation, you're like, to what end? You know what I mean? Like
To unravel it, and not like to break free, but just to like open it up, and that might be what the singularity.
So this is
Is-
hilarious. My brain is so fucked up. Like I'm so old and synapses are drying up and pathways are closing. I cannot remember Skinwalker Ranch. Holy fuck, man. The note I had to leave myself was Werewolf Farm because I couldn't remember Skinwalker Ranch. The old
Are you gonna
owner
shoehorn
of
this in there?
Skinwalker Ranch
Yeah.
was he was on Rogan. What's his fucking name?
Well, there's those synapses drying up. It doesn't matter. Just
The
talk.
rich guy there.
Who cares? Keep
Anyways, he had spent all that money to buy Skinwalker Ranch to study
yeah, the
billions
billionaire
of dollars.
that Joe was a prick to.
That's right.
Yeah.
He deserted looking for aliens and is now solely looking into consciousness. Like that's his whole. Every dollar he was spending looking for the aliens shifted to looking towards.
He was
consciousness.
looking out instead of looking in.
He sold the fucking farm. The ranch. Like he just, from looking out to looking in. It's just interesting. That guy was right on. Listen, that ranch, he didn't sell it because it's not true that things go on there. It's fucked up. He just probably realized there was a totally different reason to all of it, and you know what I mean.
What does
know
that have
what
to
I
do with
mean?
the simulation?
Yeah.
When we were talking about consciousness.
Oh, yeah, I know. You just wanted to shoehorn in the old Skinwalker
No,
Ranch
I
wherever
would-
you could.
Okay.
One of the Riz's theories was consciousness is rendering reality, just like a video game renders, but it's perfect. And if you turn your head and you think this, then you're like, well, that's not quite. It's sort of caught up. It's sort of caught up because in an old video game it'd be blocks on the side, sort of.
I don't know if you noticed outside when you were talking to me, I was rocking back and forth.
Okay.
You didn't notice?
No.
Well, that's good because it means you can do it and nobody will really notice. You know what I mean? But the reason I was doing that, Matt, is because I was listening to this Bigfoot podcast and they were talking about why Bigfoot is always like, well, you guys don't listen to a lot of accounts, but I swear to you, 90%.
How are you shoehorning this in now, too?
90% of accounts, the Bigfoot is swaying back and forth like this weird, why is he doing that? It turns out that when you go back and forth like that, you're forcing your eyes to recreate, like this is flat. I'm looking at Kamar flat, but when I go back and forth, I'm moving a little bit, so you're actually seeing the 3D. It like heightens all your senses.
That's my job.
Go on.
That's it.
Okay.
So what's interesting is a lot of Rizwan was talking about the Schrodinger's cat
So stupid.
using words like superposition
Yeah.
and this sort of idea that if you don't know something, both possibilities make both sort of exist.
Yeah, I hate that shit.
Like,
If you don't know, then both possible realities exist at the same time. The cat being alive and the cat being dead.
yes. And until you open the box and see if the cat's dead or alive, does
Both.
that become... And he was talking some crazy shit about seeing a light from 1,000,000 years ago that only chose what side of the black hole it went around when the first person saw it with the telescope or something.
Yeah. Again, so stupid.
But then he mixes in facts in that we actually know that nothing is solid. Mm-hmm. Nothing is solid.
Yeah, almost everything's empty.
We don't, no one can understand that. Because if you could make yourself, you could make your space go through another space and walk through a wall or something. If you could control or be aware of it, though.
Or
right?
maybe you could just become dust and float away to like Florida.
Well, he didn't extrapolate on this enough. It is a good point if you do think you're in a simulation. Because if you're running, let's say there's really 8 billion of us, there's no NPCs. Everyone is living some sort of life simulated, right? It's a lot of data. It's a big system working. But if everything's empty, it probably saves you on a lot of processing, right? Like if everything is just made up of like particles, which are empty, and atoms, which are empty. And again, so it looks like everything's there. You can touch it. You can interact with
Yeah.
it.
The
It doesn't
reason
need as big
the
servers.
reason I
Well, yeah, because that's the big, like, just right now, everyone who talks about the simulation, who's like, it's impossible, their point is like the amount of computing power you would need to run a simulation of that scale is just beyond anything. Like, let's say we had the computing power right now, it would shut down the world's grid running it, most likely.
so
If artificial general, everything all of a sudden
could I just
fired up.
Just one second.
There would
Like,
not be enough electricity for it.
I'll give you an example. Microsoft, someone at Microsoft was quoted. They were talking about their AI they're working on, and they were like, right now we have the power, like we have the computing power to really let this thing loose. And the person was like, why don't you? And they said we would drain the grid of the surrounding city running this thing. So like it's a power. There's a lot of issues, but my point is if everything's empty and the computing power then gets cut in. I mean, that's he said in video games, it's all about streamlining and like, how do you use the least processor? How do you know what I mean? And that's whatever.
We've got a Neo over here, man. He saw in it.
Go ahead, Simon.
The reason I told you about Bigfoot before you so rudely interrupted me like that was because my point is, if I'm constantly moving back and forth like that, I'm forcing the simulation to keep readjusting its, like it can't become static if I'm just staring at Kamar. That's easy for it. It can go into like low gear, you know?
Sure.
It. Are you talking about Bigfoot still?
No, I'm talking about the simulation. The other thing is maybe everybody's brain is the computer, and you are creating your. Like, wouldn't that be the most efficient way to do it instead of having this like program that has to run this massive?
No, because we're all connected.
What does that mean?
We are one giant.
What I'm
chip.
saying is like so like right now the three of us are in the same room, so the computer has to be connected so that we're all seeing the same thing.
Yeah, but we don't even know if we are seeing the same thing.
Okay, sure.
No, but I'm being
Yeah,
serious.
I know you are.
Like,
and
I'm not being facetious.
I can't argue.
I think you
I
have
can't
to stop
argue.
saying computer and you have to start calling just simulation, almost like a noun.
Well, okay, yeah, you're right. The problem is we only have what we know.
Yeah.
So I can only use computer as like a basis that everyone will get with. But sure.
But I think the second you describe it as a computer, like I'm just thinking out loud, someone has to try to think of what it would look like, but it is.
And maybe like I'm running a System 12 program in my computer, and you guys are running like System 10 programs. It would explain why, like, I'm able to see angles that you're not, or
Or you could be a quirky
or ideas
NPC.
come to me that don't come to you, or whatever it is. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. That's why you can see Bigfoot, because you got all the angles.
Again, that could just be like the guy who controls my program is into Bigfoot, so he paid the same way I want to watch Vanderpump, so I have to get some fucking crazy reality network, you know what I mean? It's
called Hey You.
And then cycle through endless amounts of content.
Imagine though, it gets to the point that you're in this simulation to get to the point in 20 years, you're getting old and finally they've got it. And you switch into a headset and for a split second you're thinking you're in Vanderpump Rules and you're actually there. And then the next thing you are in Vanderpump Rules and you don't remember anything of those 80 years that you were alive and you think you're alive and you're in a whole new, just like a handoff of existence. That's weird to use Vanderpump
Well, you
Rules,
kind of
but
do that every time you go to sleep, right? Like you
hand off.
You hand off, you're in this like virtual place. The only difference is that when you wake up, well, I guess it's kind of the same. When you wake up in the morning and it's done.
And you're not alone.
In your dreams?
I don't think I've ever had a dream where I was alone.
I had a dream the other night. I won't bore you with like what it was about or anything, but the premise of it, not even the premise of it, I usually dream about me, what the fuck I'm doing. I had dreams about like other people and what they were up to.
My teeth were falling out in Simon's dream.
But whatever. I was like,
That sounds like
watching-
concern.
It's crazy.
You care so much you think about people when you sleep. That's nice, man.
I don't know if that's what it was.
Or it's gay.
Maybe I was having like a
What does it matter?
out-of-body experience.
Maybe.
What does it matter is the easiest way to push back to what if we're in a simulation? So we're in a simulation. What does it matter?
Yeah, Simon and I, again, this is kind of how the podcast started. Simon and I argued about this at length.
Why does it matter? Well, it does. It does. It's nice to know. It would be nice to know. It doesn't matter as in, what are you going to do? You're going to just shut yourself off? Unplug from the matrix?
Yeah, I mean, if there was a way to do that,
That's,
except make it violently horrible for everyone you don't
Well,
unplug yourself.
that's pretty much what suicide is, right?
I know, and that's horrible. If you could just actually say, everyone, I'm going down and press
If
your
you really believed,
switch button.
really believed in the matrix, in the simulation, maybe that's the... I don't know.
But being a wild world, everything that doesn't make sense makes sense because it's a simulation and it's a game and you can play it good and you know when you are playing except we're in a simulation right now.
If you accept your...
When you make
sorry, go
good
ahead.
decisions, your game gets better. You make bad decisions, your game gets worse.
No, because
I
we
mean,
know there's
game being your life.
not always.
Yeah.
Some people are just lucky and they make bad decisions and then good things happen to them. Like,
I think that'd be the exception to the rule, but for the most part, people recognize.
because those are the rules of the game.
and you can call it society. And there's a certain way you have to act to get through this thing.
The game is called society.
And criminals are whatever breaking the simulation. Just going no rules, no thing.
They're breaking the rules of the game.
Yeah.
They're not breaking the simulation.
And some of them go on to be cartel leaders and like maybe the super successful people are outside of the simulation.
They're playing Vice City.
We are the NPCs. It's a lot, though. It's a lot. But he says that's one way to look at it in a positive way. Try to play a good game, make good decisions. The imams or the whatever they call any priest in Islam has to memorize the Quran.
Yeah, but I mean, you could find a lot of Christians in the States that have memorized the Bible.
Just as crazy.
And why do they have to do that?
Tell me that guy exists. It's never the genie, which he talks about the jinn.
Yeah.
In other
So
cultures,
they can't change it, right?
can change physical things, but they could not actually change it if it's in your head. The jinn can't
They
get in your
can't
head
change
to change
a
a
memory. Yeah, interesting.
This was the idea, but just to memorize that much text,
interesting.
unless the Quran's only like 100 words, but I think it's a lot more than that.
It's 20 pages tops.
And now everyone who has done that, because I guess the best guys would start as soon as they could read and decide that's what they want to do. Is be a cleric, I guess it's called.
The problem is they memorized a version that had already been abridged. Like we've been through this, right? If you memorize the Bible, you memorize the King James Bible, or
That version could still have something in it.
it still has redacted
Translation.
shit in it for
It's a
sure. Translation, first of all, but also things that whoever was in power didn't want the populace to see. That didn't just happen with with King James. Like I imagine every single group that took over power and tried to
But do you think these guys, whether they memorize something that was perfectly accurate or not, as they get older, like, oh, I forgot chapter 2. Like, is it, or they don't do drugs, they don't do alcohol, they live this life, and it's just the only thing they really know.
They're praying.
So they're walking around like a little server.
they're
a little
praying
Quran,
6 times a day.
like the blockchain. As long as they're around, it can survive. And I guess that's how all religions have to survive.
That is interesting. Religion and praying is kind of like recharging your battery. You know what I mean? You're putting in the time the same way you would charge up a Tesla. That's interesting.
Is it?
It is. If it's a simulation and we're really
it has things called religions, and this is how they work.
Like Kamar says, it's some
That's
sort
not
of
what Kamar
like
was saying.
you do this and you get that. Like if karma were real, we should have like gold coins, no?
Yeah, but we know that we're pretty much aware that karma isn't real.
Well,
Because there's bad people that live long lives, long fulfilling lives, and they're terrible people.
Yeah, but they might be miserable. I don't know if
and they might
karma
have
is death.
They might have used some sort of cheat code, you know what I'm saying, to bypass the program.
Like karma may be suffering for 20 years. Because
You
according
don't
to this,
know- you
death
don't
is a
know
sweet
what,
release. Right?
I mean, at the end of the day, I have to, like, the one glaring thing is, like, if this was a simulation, if I was creating a simulation, I would definitely put in place something that says that the people in it could never figure it out. Now, you could also make an argument the other way, like maybe you're concurrently running a billion simulations and you're trying to figure out if any of them can figure out they're in one. You know what I mean? That's the ultimate end game. Like it's almost like finding a key.
Yeah, you need a Neo.
Sure.
Or
I
a
don't wanna use-
Toto.
Neo, you know who is Neo? Terrence Howard. And he comes out with his theory and it's
Pump the
going to
brakes,
fucking
pump the brakes,
unlock
we'll get
the
there.
whole key to existence.
Well, what about Toto? Because Toto ran over and pulled on the curtain that exposed the Wizard of
the
Oz.
wizard, yeah. Isn't that interesting?
Because this is an archetype that's all like there's more to this, another explanation, something behind it. And if we take Edward Snowden, there has to be, if there's an in, there's an out.
I mean, you kind of have to like the simulation because I
love it all.
It plays right into your like space isn't real.
I don't even know what space is now. Or do anyone know what space is? Now, I'm bleeding as I'm
Well,
in
and
the next
again,
episode.
this brings us back to like what we were talking about a couple of weeks ago. Like, what kind of simulation are we? Are we a computer simulation? Whereas we think about it, we're like, because we think that we're actually here and existent, then we think of like somebody running a computer. Maybe it's more like we said, like an ant farm. Like the world is real. It is everything you think it is. And it in itself is a simulation. When space isn't real, but when you go out and you go to space, you're just going to find 100 million Earths. Just like you would find 100 million programs.
It'd be really
running,
hard
you
to
know?
find out as a simulation for the simulants. As you're saying,
The
they make it so it'd be
simulants?
so hard.
That's amazing.
Look how hard it is to get to space. And I saw something. This was going to be in the post, Joe. Join the Patreon to do that. A space escalator or
Yeah, the
elevator,
space elevator,
in
yeah.
Japan or something.
Yeah, but Kamar, my point is like
Crazy. Yeah.
space is that's kind of what I was going at. Is like you don't think space is real, so it's perfect because I said it a couple weeks ago. Like the first Grand Theft Auto for console, you started off in one of the boroughs and you couldn't leave, and the whole story was like, oh, the bridge is closed, and if you went over the bridge, you got 5 stars and you got immediate shit show. They always put parameters in why like you can't leave, and space would be one. And you just said you're like space is so hard to get into.
Or the ocean.
Sure. Or the
Or
ocean.
the ocean. That's why we can't go into the ocean. It's like, what's his
Okay, well,
name
we can
in
go
the
into the
boat
ocean.
going out
we
to
can't.
find the fucking
do you
weak
mean we
spot
can't?
in the
Can.
wall.
Like the thing they had to build for.
You're talking about going deep in
Yes,
the ocean.
yes,
Yeah,
exactly.
but you act like we're not in the ocean.
I think our relationship with water is weird, considering how much water we're made of. I really feel that.
Like
I don't know what that means.
we are the mermaids.
We are the mermaids.
The mermen, sorry.
Now, obviously, I can't explain what he said, but through quantum science and computing, they figured out that there are probably also multiple pasts. That the chances are there's multiverses. That makes sense. Except when the next guy comes out, turns everything on his head. But for that, so there's multiple pasts. So that's possible that a memory could be from another. Like there's multiverse where there are Bigfoot for sure. There has to be.
Maybe the Bigfoot are wearing suits and ties and
And maybe there's
Going
a
to work every
multiverse
day.
that's just
Bob.
next to it. We go back and Atlantis is still a place.
Bob Igfoot.
Yeah. Bigfoot. Yeah.
Bigfoot.
But the way Joe described
Oh man.
DMT feeling like it's more real, and I think even a strong dose of mushrooms makes you sort of feel similar to that. The tree is so green, everything's so
Yeah, mushrooms give you that like DVD vision.
it's a really
It gives you that exact same vision you get on an eclipse day, which is interesting. You know, I think I've asked this before, but like if you look at your shadow on an eclipse day, it just looks like so crisp and clear and everything just looks sharper. That's what I found anyways.
Interesting.
It had like this weird moment, but that would make sense, right? If it was some sort of simulation and something was happening with like the sun and the sun, which is crazy. I don't know what episode they talked about that in. The fact that we're
not
the
that crazy.
perfect
It's not that crazy.
distance.
It's not that crazy.
Oh, it's not that crazy for people who believe everything they tell you.
So why can you cover the sun perfectly with your thumb?
yeah.
Is that crazy
That's
too?
crazy.
I
It's
don't
all
think-
crazy.
I don't
man.
think
Why
you-
is that
I
crazy?
don't
'Cause
think
that-
you can.
Because some people think
course
the
you can.
sun produced the universe.
Do you have like the biggest thumb in the world?
No, if you stretch your entire
yeah, like you crush a guy's head. Yeah.
But from here, I'm like crushing your head very bigly. I don't know if you can cover the whole sun with your thumb.
Okay.
Maybe with your palm. Like, you don't have like a big cartoon thumb.
Okay,
Matt.
but either way, my hand is not as big as the moon.
I'm not sure I understand.
Like even the one they showed was like, I mean, A, we don't know the size of that moon, but B, it still covered a substantial amount. There was still an eclipse. It just wasn't as
It just wasn't
defined.
perfect.
Well, yeah.
The fact that everything here
Not
just
everything.
works perfectly,
But why? It happens once every how long?
or does it, Matt? I
no, it happens-
Maybe,
it happens-
maybe
it
it's
ha-
a simulation. It
it
happens
happens
every
all the
single
time.
fucking time.
It happened somewhere else. That was
Well,
just
that's what
notable
Terrence
to be
Howard
here.
says.
It doesn't happen all the time, but
Well, he did. He said it happens like all the time because it's the farther we push away from the sun. Anyways, sorry.
I had a moment. This has nothing to do with what I'm trying to talk about. Well, I guess it does, but like the moon being so prominent while the sun was up that I felt like I could see mountains on the moon. It wasn't on mushrooms or anything. But I felt like, and I was saying to everyone, I was like, how can I see 250,000 miles away and feel like I can see?
Depth of
you're
perception.
Yeah, but you're seeing a massive mass. Like, I don't think you're understanding that.
From so.
What do you mean? So if you were on the moon, you can look down at the Earth and actually see the mountains?
Yeah. It's called topography, I believe.
Yeah, but I don't think that's from the moon.
What do you mean?
Well, like when they show a topographical view of a map, like I don't think that's just from whatever.
Hold on. What he just
from.
said is the most anecdotal shit ever. He just said to you, "I feel like I can see a mountain on the moon."
Yeah, and some days I feel like I can't see it.
You don't even.
No, I don't even know if he can.
That's what I'm
just
saying. Do you even know if there's a mountain on the moon?
If he can, that would tell us that the moon is probably a hell of a lot closer than they're telling us it is.
We are
right?
assuming you're seeing a shadow of some sort of elevation difference, right? I mean,
No, that's not how it works.
you've seen what I'm talking about, though. You've
Kamar-
just seen the moon, like you feel like you really see it.
Have you ever listened to anything about like the ancient structures they found on the moon?
They did. So they did go to the moon, and they found structures.
There were total civilizations that lived there a long time ago,
and people kept that a secret.
well, I don't know if that's true. Maybe that's what you're seeing, like giant fucking.
that'd be
pyramids
crazy if
or
our-
something.
That's not what he's seeing. That's not what you're seeing. You can't listen. You went 2 seconds ago. You were like, you can't see shit on the moon. It's 200,000 miles away, and now you're like, maybe Kamar is seeing a pyramid on the
No,
moon.
we're
Like, what the fuck just happened?
It's rendering
I'm
too close.
easily switched.
It's rendering how it should be in Spain right now, but it's rendering over Ontario. That's sort of weird, right? Just the whole idea of the rendering.
I mean, when we found out that the phones were doing that, you're just like, oh, well, this is how they've been doing it all along. We just have this thing in our eye that we believe is our eye, but really, they're just deciding to render program in. Like, if that's how it is,
I don't see how. I don't. That's a big jump, but okay.
it's a huge jump. Huge jump.
Do we all think that there's been a picture of the planet taken? A camera outside looking back.
Well, first of all,
not even
none of
looking
us,
back, it's just
none of
looking
us
at it.
think they've
Well,
been to the moon.
You could do that from anywhere high
No.
enough,
I
right?
don't
No.
think you can.
Why?
Well, the Earth is very
I
large.
think you're too close. I think you have to be
So, like, what
200,000
Kamar's-
kilometers away.
Yes, what Kamar is saying.
To get that little shot of the Earth like that,
Yes.
I think.
like the one that we see on a globe.
I don't know what that is.
I mean, that's insane. Come on.
Wow.
Simon, listen. If
Are
you
we
go,
really
if
gonna
you
be fucking
if you go to
fooled
like
like
where
that?
satellites are, there isn't. I'm not sure you could get a wide enough angle shot to get the
The entire
Yeah.
circumference of the Earth.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Well, you can never get the
Interesting
entire
on that.
circumference.
Well, again,
but I know what you're talking.
We don't know how high the dome goes.
Sure,
Like, it could go really high.
sure.
Who knows where they decided to set their like camera viewpoint? You know what I'm saying?
It probably just builds itself as part of the simulation.
I mean, you're
There's no intent behind it.
Listen, there's that very famous shot of like the rocket breaking off where they have the camera looking back at Earth
Mm-hmm.
and you can see the whole Earth in that shot, I believe. So if you believe that that is not a doctored NASA video,
That's the footage.
I don't know what to believe anymore. I'm just being totally serious.
I don't
like-
believe anything.
Because back to
anymore.
your thing is not letting the things know they're in the simulation. You wouldn't let yourself see even the planet. Or you'd make something up. Or see what it is, the program. It's a giant circuit board. Maybe giant circuit boards look like planets. Or what if the moon was the Earth? And they
A long
cooked
time
it?
ago. Well,
And it
exactly.
came out of the thing. And this Earth's destiny is to be like that. And there's someone else there looking on.
If the moon is actually like a hollow spaceship, like remember they said something hit the moon
Yeah,
and
yeah,
they
it
heard it
sounded
ring.
hollow.
Oh my God, Kamar.
First time ever.
Ringing
flying.
like a bell for
Thinking
whatever, 2
Sorry.
hours or something. That sounded like a gunshot. Maybe the moon can move. Maybe it moves closer and further away from the Earth.
And that's why you can see it
So
clear
clearly
days.
some nights.
Perfect.
Maybe
explanation.
Maybe the moon is where the servers for all this shit is.
Very good.
Love it. Now that's something I can get behind. So when they got into UAPs and UFOs, and the idea of rendering, again, these things could be in another dimension and just slipping in and out, like almost like a radio station.
Yeah.
But it's actual dimensions. And that makes sense. But then he said he knows guys.
Which could explain Bigfoot too. I'm just saying, if Bigfoot was an alien and not an ape
Well,
in the woods.
No, Simon, stop. Please.
Shoehorn Bigfoot into the
Okay, you guys stink. Listen, the same thing could apply if they were aliens and not some sort of ape in the woods. They could be phasing in and out of
Yeah, I think
dimensions.
I think you should drop Bigfoot and start calling it aliens. Because that's what you're assuming Bigfoot is. Not from this planet.
Well, in that
Or dimension.
in this hypothesis, yes.
But so
Or you could just wait until Bigfoot comes up naturally, which happens this week.
Sometimes I have things that relate to Bigfoot.
I know, but sorry.
Simulation is such a big topic that to shoehorn
Selfish.
Bigfoot in there is
Selfish.
odd. Like if all the no, I'm just saying. Like imagine if you were talking about Bigfoot. Imagine if a Bigfoot expert came on and you wanted to give it a full hour where you were like amped to talk about Bigfoot, and I spent half of it trying to talk about the simulation and only the simulation, but nothing really to do with Bigfoot, just about the simulation. You're
wasting a lot of time here.
But you know
could
what?
be talking about the simulation.
You know what the out would be? Is if the creator of the simulations, one irk, the one bee in their bonnet is this Bigfoot thing that I don't know where it came from or what it's doing or how it got in there. That and you would be excused, but we don't know that.
Listen, I haven't used it yet, but this Apple Vision Pro is like the first thing in my life, probably the first thing in human history that's really made me be like, this is, if we were ever to, let's say we are in base reality, this is the beginning of the simulation.
Steps away.
Yeah.
You tried it then?
No, I just said I haven't tried it. They don't even have them in the store.
You can't even try it somewhere, like go in and like demo it.
No.
We don't even know if they have this thing. You could just be seeing videos of people pretending to be using the goggles.
I think I've heard third counts of people saying they bought theirs.
I've never met somebody who has one or has used one.
They're $4,000. So like,
I would trust Marquise.
Brownlee.
He might be a pillar of integrity, and even he might be a total shyster.
I saw his
The
review.
simulation, who cares? Just
I
play
saw
the
his
game well.
I saw his review of it, and he was. Oh, you're talking about him playing the. I got you. I don't know. The thing is nuts, and like it's, as Kamar always says, it's the worst it's ever going to be.
Kamar says that?
Yeah, when he talks about like AI right now, he says it's
or anything state of the art.
Sure.
We're on the edge of these words.
The point is, Simon, if you took if I put the first iPhone on the table right now and you picked it up, you'd be like, this thing is an absolute piece of shit, like unusable. And that was less than 20 years ago. So in 20 years, this Apple Vision Pro.
Well, yeah, but I mean, the same thing would apply if I told you to use a typewriter. You know what I mean?
Sure. Yeah.
I know you couldn't even walk around with a typewriter. I
No,
know,
but
yeah,
I'm saying the
same
jump from a typewriter to
Sure. My
fucking-
point, that makes my point even stronger. My point is, in like 30 years,
The jump from this will be the typewriter one day. What will be the state of the art?
I mean, listen, Joe talks about struggle all the time and how struggle makes people. That could be the simulation. It could just be that someone in the future lives such a cushy life that the simulation creates what life used to be like. And that's how people, they have it all made, so there's no struggle out there.
And somehow it lines up with religion, with religion, that if you follow religions, that's a right path, a good way to play the simulation out, or freestyle it, go your own way.
No, but think about it like this. Like, let's say, you know how humans, I I think I've mentioned this before, but like, a giraffe falls 6 feet out of some giraffe pussy, just starts walking around, living its life right away. Just boom. Humans, we have this long gestation. Is that the right fucking word? Gestation period where
Not all of us.
no, but for the most part, we're useless for like,
3
6 years. Sure.
You can start walking.
Yeah, sure. I guess
say
once you
some
start, I guess
words.
once you start walking, then I guess you could like run from a predator if we lived in the
So
jungle.
you're saying we should spend more time in the womb?
No. My point is like we could live in a future where you simulate an entire life into a child. So like a newborn, while in the womb, gets a full life experience, like a salvia trip. So for the 9 months they're in there, 8 months, whatever, because it's not always exact. For that time they're in there, they live a simulated full life, and then when they come out, it's a lot. They're. I don't want to say they're fully developed, like they come out smoking a cigar, but you know what I mean. It takes maybe we figured out a way to streamline humans so that
I mean, that could be what's happening.
maybe.
We don't remember ourselves in the womb. I mean, unless you're.
I mean, Terrence Howard
Terrence
remembers
Howard.
himself in the womb.
Well,
That's what I.
What's going on?
No,
You
it's
having
it's,
some breakthrough.
No, it's the memories implanted. It still comes out. It's 1 year old or it's 0 years old. That's a weird one too, eh?
What?
When you're born, are you 1 or are you 9 months?
Well, no, but
no,
Kamar-
I guess that goes the other way.
What is your first memory? Like my first memory is well into my life.
Well, I
What's
don't know
well into your
because-
life?
Like I think
my
my
pic-
first memory, and I don't even know if it's a real memory or it's something I saw in a picture or it's a story my mom told me. You know what I mean? I don't know what my first memory is. Maybe when I'm like 6.
I feel like I'm losing
7?
my mind, and it's like, would your first memory stick with you? Like, your first memory becomes your first memory the second after it happens, whatever you remember.
I think the
And
thing
you
is your
just held on to that one memory with all other memories around it.
Your memory's weird though. You'll remember random shit that doesn't matter and forget big life events. So it's not like I don't know. Like
What's your first memory?
no, I'm trying to. So like I know my parents got divorced when I was 6, but I definitely have memories before that. So I clearly remember probably like 5, I would say.
You clearly have memories before that, like
Yeah.
of doing stuff when your parents were together.
Yeah. Like Christmas, for example. I remember coming downstairs for Christmas. I must have been 5. And like my dad had bought me this G.I. Joe.
Yeah. So do you remember Christmas when you were 4?
Probably not, unless that was when I
So
was
where
4.
did those 4 years go? You know what I mean?
I remember falling down the stairs when I was like 2.
I mean, that explains so much.
So much.
I mean, I get what you're saying, Simon. Like I put my hand in a blender when I was like 3.
You have zero memory of it.
0 memory, yeah. I fell when I was young and cracked my skull open right here on the edge of a table, and I still have a scar, but like, yeah, don't remember that. So like, I'm with you. Where does...
Yeah, like I have a scar right here because we were in the fresh fruit company in old Ottawa South, and I was running around
The bend?
and hit my head on the
Yeah.
thing. I have zero memory of that. I only know that because my mom has told me that story a billion times, and I have this scar, and I'm like, oh, where did I get that from?
But we also know that we... Like, I think memory's a weird one because like, just because you don't remember it doesn't mean it's in there. Right? Like we
Or
know...
it's not in there, you mean?
No,
Just
like...
because you don't remember it doesn't mean it's not in there.
Sure, yeah.
You could have it in your brain, you just can't remember. You can't access the file.
Precisely,
Or-
because we know that those first 4 years of your development are hugely important for
And yet we can't remember anything about them.
precisely.
Maybe we don't, maybe you legitimately only have a certain amount of like,
RAM?
Bandwidth.
not RAM or cloud space,
Yeah.
right? Like, you know, how Apple's always trying to get you to spend $1.99 to get more cloud space. And you're just like, no, I'll just delete a couple of photos. I'll make some room. I'll get rid of a couple of podcasts I had saved.
But somehow we remember things from 1,000 years ago.
Who does?
Wouldn't we like instincts and just like survival stuff that
Oh, I
other
see.
things? I mean, that's out the window of the
I
simulation.
mean, maybe that's just like code that's built into your genes. And if your genes really are just like building blocks of life, and I use
Well, no,
that
'cause
in
I mean-
air quotes, maybe it's like Lego blocks.
the
you
easiest
know?
for me is the freezer and sex loving robots.
I mean, Kamar, there's 2 ways to look at it. You could look at it like, If it's a simulation, you have the parameters in the simulation where all the past is stored in the DNA, right? So the simulation's been running for 7 billion years. Humans eventually come along. It's in the code that from the first human to us.
It's different from memory. It's a different type of memory.
Precisely, yeah. It's coded in the DNA, I guess.
Who knows?
I mean, listen,
we're hypothesizing.
When it comes to the simulation, there's no limit to where this conversation could go on for 10 hours. There's no limit to what you could think up that is possible. Like, we could have a 4-hour conversation on why we would create a simulation where people would. How about this? Let's talk about the ethics of it. Do you think we would have an ethical problem creating? So let's say you, Simon, you're a computer engineer, and tomorrow you come to me and you say, listen, I believe I have created a simulation where within this simulation, 8 billion people eventually will be living out their day-to-day, feeling exactly what we feel, feeling real lives, actual people dying, innocent people dying, real shit happening. Again, it's actually all on this computer. That's all it is. It's on this. It's all code that I've created, but they really feel it, like genuinely, like you feel and I feel. Do you think there's an ethical or a moral?
Well, like you feel and I feel, so you're prescribing like consciousness to these
Precisely. And like what I'm saying is
through the computer because you've built consciousness.
And you've built it in where literally they have the same.
I mean, ethically, you probably shouldn't do that. If that's the case, if you're truly building something that has the exact same feelings as you, it would be like if I said to you, you're going to build yourself a robot to help you clean your house, but it's going to feel exactly like you feel.
Yeah,
are you going to like beat the robot and shit? You know what I mean?
No, even then, I'm not going to want it to just clean my. You know what I mean? Like.
Well, yeah, you'd probably fall in love with it and marry it.
What if it's got a big old dick?
Well, even more reason why you'd fall in love with it and marry it. It's like you said, we can talk about every part of the simulation theory for.
Well, no, the ethical one's important because like we sit here and what we feel is real. But nothing's real, right? Like if this is a simulation, all the feelings you're feeling are just code.
Yeah,
and it's
they
all.
Are, they
well,
are,
no,
they
but
are,
that's what reality is. Mm-hmm. So it doesn't matter to us. It doesn't matter to us, the people living in the simulation. That only matters to the guy who has to make up his mind in the real world.
I agree, but it goes back to like this is why I'm talking ethically. You could sit there and have let's say we're having a board meeting right now. The three of us are the three of us are board members of a massive. We're Apple, okay? We've bought Apple, and we have this AI or this simulation that we've created. And ethically, we're sitting here saying, well, the feelings that we've put into these people are like they're simulated. So like they feel it, but it's not real. But we feel it. You know, like
we.
Do you understand what I'm saying? Is
the
like
robots have feelings.
Sure, it might not be the feelings that you have built in you. Like they might. It's like how we look at ants. You know what I mean? Like, well, they don't have feelings.
Yeah, but you step on ants all the time.
I know.
And if an ant comes into your house, you're like, fuck this motherfucker.
Yeah, let's kill the colony. Yeah.
So, no, then ethically, are we just ants to these people? Or are they making tiny little babies that are going to become like their pets? Like, what are you saying?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, like, I also think about it like if let's say we did scorch the earth.
Yep. Fallout style.
Forget even Fallout style. Let's say we know that an asteroid impact is imminent. It's unavoidable.
Okay. And
we have created a virtual reality that is very similar to real life or exactly similar. Let's say, if we could upload everyone, would we not do that? Put a big server in a mountain? And just continue on life in the machine?
How do we know that we would...
We don't. But if everyone's going to die anyway, we would do that, right?
Some of us would do it, and some of us wouldn't. And that's
Sure.
how we'd hedge our bet.
But that would explain NPCs.
That would explain NPCs.
Get up to the mic. Yeah, that would explain NPCs. Because think about it. Let's say half the people, 4 billion people, decide I'm going into the simulation. If it's going to be an ice age and I'm going to die anyway, I'm going into the simulation. And the other half say, fuck it, I'm just going to die in the ice age. This is how it was meant to be. Then They've created the simulation with 8 billion people. So they're just going to keep it running with 4 billion of them just being like autonomous.
It's
They just disappear.
yeah, what's his name?
The Rapture.
Thanos.
Okay, like you said-
what I was gonna sorry, go ahead.
Finish. No.
Fallout.
Yeah.
For all we know, this simulation is just some rich guy's fucking ant farm.
Yep.
At a whim, he decided this is how this simulation's going to be. And in that simulation over there, you know what? Girls outnumber the guys 15-1. Have at it.
Yeah.
Let's see what happens. In this simulation, if they figure it out, they get free and they reach Wonderland. And if they figure it out, they fucking all die.
What if our phones were like our handlers?
Oh, that's interesting.
That's weird, eh?
I mean, we've only had them for 15, 20
Well,
years.
that's
so-
how long we've been compromised.
That's
for.
how they introduce you. But outside of the simulation, like you said, it goes on forever. We could have talk for 10 hours. He did say at some point, despite UFOs, whether they're rendering in or explaining this, he knew people that talked about them working reverse engineering anti-gravity technology, which is still top secret, and he's disputing that it's a company's keeping it from the government. So who knows what technology is out there?
We know that like back in the day, there was a time in like maybe the 40s or something where there was this like Los Angeles flying club, and it was these like really rich people who were experimenting with weird flying devices. I feel like there's been this like subsect of like really rich people who have just for much longer than we can imagine have been flying things that we don't
I know,
understand.
but is it fun to be the only person doing something on the planet? Like shared experience is sort of what we're all about.
If you can't
I guess
brag about it, if you can't put it on your Instagram,
I know,
what's the
like
point?
it's better if you says, "I just went skydiving." I know, I did it too. But if you just keep something to yourself, anyways, you're probably right. But he was saying, with the anti-gravity technology, and if it is a simulation, you could get to any point X, Y. Like just, it's not, and I think that gets a bit into Terrence, but it's not about traveling any direction or thing. It's just there.
Well, if we're
And
living
we're not
in,
there, it's there.
if we're living in a simulation and there are rules to the simulation, meaning
has to be.
like in order to fly around the world, you have to get in a plane which has a program that allows it to fly. Right. Like that's what we're saying. If it is a simulation,
Well, I mean,
then there would be a way to break that rule.
there is no
where-
spoon. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, like you could theoretically figure out some bypass to that system.
Yes and
So
no.
maybe
No, because I would say no. Like how would I explain this? Like if I put a video game in right now, nothing in the video game can hack itself. I, the player outside, can backdoor something, change the code, whatever, insert cheats, but nothing in the game. Do you get what I'm saying?
I do, but the video game is a weird one because you're like saying to me, look at my example is in a video game, I'm playing a video game and I can't do what you're saying. Well, that's because you are the video game, bub, and you don't even realize it.
Sure, but okay. You don't need the bub.
Yeah, that's a little condescending.
Yeah. Thanks, champ, junior.
Player would have been better.
Junior.
Yeah,
I saw what
exactly.
you did there.
Yeah, I did do that. No, Simon, I just like it's a weird paradox. Like you were saying, you know, if it's a simulation, there has to be rules, and then the rules can be broken. That would be to assume that if we are in a simulation, the real world has no rules. That there's only parameters in place because we're in a simulation.
No, that doesn't necessarily mean that. The world they come from could have a set of rules, and they're either mimicking those rules in this game, or maybe they're going totally against those rules because they want to have fun watching this game, and it's not fun to just watch you do the same thing you would, which it is because we all watch reality TV, but like maybe it's more fun to watch people who can shoot lasers out of their eyes, you know?
Yeah.
I feel like this Vice City is going to be the closest to, or a middleman between us and what we think is reality. The video game is going to be so immersive and everything to just, it's a simulation. Because it's supposed to have like a universe within it of social media and like it already had.
Yeah.
The radio stations, the conservative leaning, whatever. But imagine all those things that you don't take for, they just add to the realism of the game, but they are on purpose. They don't just, we need a radio station for this. Just put something up. It's all chosen. And so there's going to be so much thought put into the mimicked social media companies in there. I don't know what else will come. They'll maybe have a AI in the game. You could only go in and talk to that AI. That might be.
I mean, that's so weird. You start
It's so weird.
layering in like 4 different layers of reality.
And that's why I call it a middleman. Do you know what I mean? It's just another thing that you're like, this is crazy. Then you accept it.
But here's the thing. It seems okay. I just keep thinking back to Ready Player One, that movie.
Yeah.
Okay. He wakes up. He's in the fucking shipping container world, stacked on top of each other, and they fucking run to their thing. They plug in, and they're in the world that seems more real than the world that you're in now, or as real, but better.
But better is the key.
We're so far from that still. You know what I mean?
Well, you don't know that.
Aren't you really good decisions or luck from thinking this is the best thing ever?
I don't know.
I mean, Simon, we could, for all you know, we could be 5 years away from that. It's tough to say that we're so far from that.
We're still talking about video games. You know what I mean?
But that's what Ready Player One
is. Is going to be the best video game ever. Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, it is a video game. You're right. You're right.
All I'm saying is, like, I'm with you. So far, the growth, let's use video games, the growth has just been like this. And the truth is, as someone who still plays video games, the industry is not doing well. Like, I know they're making more money than they've ever made, but the video game industry fucking stinks. It is one of the shadiest, shittiest.
Oh, they could put up a game and everyone falls apart and the whole thing comes down and people think, I'm going to play this game for the next 20 years and never see it again.
Dude, it's just
Charge people for
it's just a
suits.
big business. That's all it is. It's a big business run by suits, and it's only about money.
It's not the people going, we are going to make the best video game ever, and everyone's going to say they made the best video game because everyone's just, I got to make more money.
The funniest comment I
Kids
saw
have
about
nothing else to do.
the funniest comment I saw about Fallout was someone was like, it's not even true to the game. It doesn't glitch once in season 1 because like when they dropped Fallout 3 and 4, it was like unplayable. You
That's
couldn't.
funny.
And the problem is like they introduced once they started getting it's the Costco business model. Like they used to just sell you a game for $60 and that was it. And then the next year they had to release another game that you bought for $60. That was it. Once they figured out a way to hook you,
The title?
forget the title. Like, dude, first of all, Grand Theft Auto is going to be $200. It's going to be the most expensive video game ever, which is crazy because their justification for it is we spent $2 billion on it. It's the most expensive piece of intellectual property
We
ever
want to make
created.
that money first day.
Well, no, and that's what I said. Is I was like, you guys have been making $100 million a month for 13 years off of the last Grand Theft Auto, just on online. Just on people buying fake money for the online
All
game.
those people think life is really good, I think.
But my point is
So
like,
they can choose their radio station.
yeah, my point is like, the video game industry used to be people trying to make good games.
Was it?
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
I think so because of Tetris.
The story behind
The story about Tetris, that the guy just said, this is a fun game you can play.
Yeah.
I think that's just like
All politicians start off with good intentions and then they become pieces of shit. Maybe that's
No,
what
I
happens.
just like, like
It's competitive.
EA Sports started out as just a couple guys who were like, we want to make sports games because we think it's fun.
Nerds.
And it was
The money-
and it
I
was
don't know, the
fun.
money-
And then the money came in, and EA is now regarded year after year as one of the worst companies on the face of the earth.
Is that right?
Yes.
Because
I mean, doesn't that just happen to everything? Like
I
look at the UFC.
would see EA Sports as the gold standard. I don't play video games. I wish I could play video games just to pass the time, but
No, they are.
I think they're one of the best in the business. Are they super rich? Like, haven't they cornered the market on Madden?
Kamar, the amount of money that FIFA and Madden make off packs is like the most staggering.
They're a conglomerate. EA Sports, when we played it as kids, seemed like this a rugged outfit out of Vancouver.
was.
It
was.
was, and now it's a massive machine.
Yes.
It's big. It's a big video game.
It's huge money. The amount of money. And Kamar, they don't do anything new. They spit out the same fucking game year after
So
year.
imagine the money that there is in our simulation.
Yeah.
Someone's making $1 million. Lastly, I sort of he was unsure about Bob Lazar and had an opinion.
Yeah.
It was like Bob Lazar, I never heard of him. It was like, yeah, I don't know about that guy.
No, he just said I couldn't speak to his credentials. He didn't say it in like I didn't take it. I didn't.
That's how I took it.
Okay.
Different. Maybe you were in a different simulation at the time when you were listening to it.
Maybe.
But then Joe says, well, I know. I can explain that to you.
Which is the worst.
Bob Lazar dies. Joe will start saying that aloud, do you think?
Good question.
Is that something that's...
No, he'll let Corbell come on and spill the beans.
Do you think you'll find out if
I
Bob
mean,
Lazar
what
dies?
is it? It can't be that big a deal. Like, it's just something about his schooling or whatever.
I don't know.
It's not like he's telling you where the bodies are buried.
And then Rivik...
Fuck, man.
No, I honestly, I don't. Listen, I believe that when Bob Lazar dies, like I just said, he'll have Corbell on, and Corbell will spill.
We'll find
all
out. We'll find out.
Yes.
That makes sense.
I mean, Bob Lazar's not that old.
No, but he, could die in the next 20 years.
Yeah, so good, Joe.
All we can hope...
Joe's on peptides. I don't believe he's going.
He's going to live another,
Yeah.
3 lifetimes.
He also has 8 fucking operators around him at all times,
Have
probably
you
willing
heard
to
the
push him out of the
term-
way of a
Have you
car.
heard the term kill switch?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's like something, if I die, this comes out.
Yeah.
There's never been one, eh?
There's never been somebody who's actually done one. You heard that on Tripoli?
No, I just thought about it as we're talking about this.
Really?
Maybe I heard it, don't
Because
remember it, but
they
No,
said the exact same thing.
that's great.
I mean, listen.
There's nobody. They said what's his name threatened to do it. Who's that weird
Someone's
guy
passed
who
away,
made the
obviously.
video? Yeah, he did pass away.
Screech?
No,
Kamar, don't forget too. There could be a kill switch, but the government, like you're acting like the CIA and the NSA wouldn't know about it and get there
none
first.
have gotten out. They'd have to be
Yeah.
old school kill switches. It'd get no, of course, and it could they could exist because it's like I got this relationship with this reporter. They know they're going to put it in New York Times, and they're like, no, you're not.
The problem with reporters.
Oh well, what closest to that would be what's his name, who was embedded with
the army.
the army there. He said, if I die,
Well, no, you know what I realized.
his car ran into the pole.
Yeah.
What's his name? Dan Schneider? No,
Simon, that movie you made me watch, Voyeur, that really opened my eyes to like
which voyeur? The voyeurs or voyeur?
the one where the reporter meets with the guy who was jerking off to people in hotel
through
rooms
the
forever.
hotels.
Yeah,
That's crazy.
my point is it really opened my eyes to like reporters. They're gonna if you give them information, very few of them are just gonna hang on to the story. So like this kill switch you're talking about, like, oh, I'm close to the reporter. Like, unless it's a Greg Fitzsimmons, this guy was my neighbor for 15 years deal, I don't see that happening.
Don't know how Keepers gets.
The guy I'm talking
Secrets get kept.
The guy I'm talking about, Kamar, is he had the big afro. He was a
Bustamante.
black guy. He was accusing everybody. He was in like Hollywood, and he was accusing everybody of being pedophiles. You know who I'm talking about?
I vaguely might remember. I'm going to say, oh yeah, that guy to make you feel
Cat
better.
Williams.
No.
Did you listen to? I know you brought it up last week. I finally got around. Did you listen to Kendrick's Drake diss?
Oh no, you guys can't do this to me now. You can't do this to me now.
Yeah, I said last week that I thought the rapping was weak.
Kendrick's rapping was weak.
I just felt like he
Did
was
you
like,
listen to Meet the Grams?
he wanted to
Hold
get
on. Did you listen to Meet the Grams?
I don't know which
he-
one I listened to.
didn't
I
listen
just
to
it felt like he wanted to get out what he was saying so bad that he was willing to sacrifice some of the
I've
artistic
had a week to
quality
sit on it and have listened to everything, and I think they're too old to be doing this.
Well, they're doing it because
wait,
they know
what
it's
do you mean
going to
they're
get them
too
in
old
the
to be
fucking
doing this?
media.
Well, this is the last time they can do this.
How old do you think Kendrick Lamar is?
37.
You think he's
They're
37?
both 37.
Yeah.
Drake's the same age.
I agree.
If they're 30, I'd be like, yeah, go get them, boys. But it's like they're above this. They should just be fathers and stuff. But it's a battle to end all battles until I don't know what someone does.
Dude, I used to listen. I grew up listening to rap. I've heard many a rap beefs. I've never heard anything like Meet the Grams.
This is the most personal, you think?
What do you mean, like what he's saying?
Do you feel
Get to your point, Matt.
That's it. I can't.
Do you feel that his
That
tone was sort of like Pusha T's though in
No.
Kendrick,
Adonis?
No.
That condescending just
Kendrick is saying he's a pedophile.
Well, yeah, definitely
Yeah.
says that a bunch.
Yeah.
Yeah. But just like,
And then-
dude, he has a verse to Adonis. He has a verse to the mom, a verse to the dad.
And
why your dad ain't shit.
Yeah,
Oh.
and is that where he starts? Where he's like, "I just don't like you."
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. That's how I was.
You thought there was weak raps in that.
I don't know. It just they didn't. It sounded like he wanted to get the words in so bad.
What's
Well,
wild
it's
is if they're
fine.
high-fiving after, because they both got great streams, they broke records, and they're in on it. It would be of course, that's what it is. Another disappointing.
My whole thing is like
Nothing is real.
My whole thing is I see Drake doing that. Like I see Drake just being in this for the money, 100%. I also don't think Drake was like, whoa, I don't think I'd be called a pedophile. I don't see Kendrick doing that.
I'm sorry. I want to apologize, but I want to chastise you for you should have brought this up first thing of the post, Joe.
Shane Gillis.
We'll bring it back up.
I need to finish this off.
Okay, sure.
Shane
go ahead.
Gillis in 2017. Just hold
Predicted,
on.
yeah.
Predicted all about fucking Diddy or not Diddy. Drake
I think this is my
liking
fault.
young girls.
I failed in keeping this simulation interesting, and you guys have.
Okay, just finish up.
He described how all science is a discipline of finding the truth. All sciences, and they're all there's different disciplines, but it's all science. In that, you would think there'd be one day where there'd be no need for science.
That we'd find out all truths.
That's what it. Or he thinks all sciences are going to find out that this is the truth. The simulation. None of it matters. You're all just wavelengths.
Or maybe Matt's exactly right. There's a thing in the program that you never get to know the truth. Like you'll always die before the truth is ever revealed.
Science, every scientific method, there's what is it called? The observation and then the conclusion. They all have a conclusion, which would be the truth based on what that
Hypothesis,
experiment.
observation.
Right?
Yeah.
So there should be a finite amount of conclusions.
No, because science keeps changing.
There's
Science keeps changing, or
No,
data keeps changing.
Science stays the same, but they keep experimenting, and occasionally they come out with new results. That's why.
But we're doing experiments at like a rate of like it's painfully slow, right? Every experiment's a simulation, basically. You add a little
Sure,
something.
yeah.
A quantum computer, if that gets fired up, does all these before like just in something that we can't grasp, and that's what he explained is probably part of it. But this idea of I want to save some of this for Terrence Howard, but we just have our monkey brain idea of how things can move,
Yeah.
or data can be transferred,
of everything.
of
really.
everything. We need to feel a speed or something, but it's not even that. It's not. There was a new universe just got formed or something.
And maybe we get to like a point, like maybe they're right, and we get to a point where we look like gray aliens, and we're looking back at ourselves like, can you believe we're worried about dicks and fucking and you know what I mean? These things that are so inconsequential to your new form as a higher
fucking's
being
pretty-
in the simulation.
Fucking's
pretty
pretty good.
important.
Yeah, but if you could
there's
just
no
fuck-
if there's no fucking, we'd figure out we're in a simulation
you-
really
Yeah,
fast.
true. Yeah.
'Cause I
If
think-
you
sorry.
had like a brain orgasm anytime you wanted,
No, I meant it's important to
just
keep
wouldn't
human beings
need,
around. I'm not talking
to
about the
reproduce,
orgasm part.
But we're way past that. You know what I mean? We just do it in a fucking tube, and
Yeah, but I don't know. But again, it goes back to fucking is fun. So we might keep that one.
again, if you could just do that anytime you wanted in your head, and it was as real as like
There is a universe where alcohol, weed, all these things are illegal, and the only things that are legal is meth, heroin, and cocaine, and they're just killing it because they just have the perfect balance. Because it seems like alcohol and marijuana would help you not notice little things. especially alcohol. They know it's dulling, and if you watch someone who drinks their whole life, they become dumber. It just
I agree with alcohol, but that's why weed used to be illegal, was because they didn't. It helps. It like makes you more perceptive.
I'm sure there's certain strains that dull, and all sort of things in between.
Dude, that'd be a great script. Aliens come down, and they're fucking serious meth heads, but it doesn't kill them like it kills us. They're just fully functional. That's how they got so advanced. They're like, you guys aren't smoking meth? They're like, it's just these guys. Oh.
Because the problem
Is anybody smoking meth here?
Just these guys? Oh my
meth,
god!
you can't tell people you're smoking it, and then you quickly can't afford it. But like Andre Agassi was a functioning meth head,
Yeah.
So it's just access to the thing.
Or even
I
then,
hope that's not the
even then,
situation.
the aliens like, you guys are smoking it, and not putting it up your ass. Oh, problem solved.
Brother, get over here. What's up, brother?
I guess I'll give it a 4. Simon convinced me.
I give it a smashing 4.5.
Wow.
The only problem with this is I don't understand whether.
I give it a 4. Well, I understand this so much more than I understand the next one we're going to talk about.
Yeah,
So.
touche. All right, we're going to take a break. We're going to pay a bill, and we will be right.
Oh, and I'm really sorry for bringing up Bigfoot. Like, God forbid I should talk about something that is interesting. Okay, that's it. Keep your eyes open.
This is why your people are going through it.
I
right
love
now.
that if there's a
You realize
thousand
that?
people listening,
I
they're
haven't
all
hit the
like,
button
not
yet.
now, but in the time
Yeah.
when this
We'll take a break.
Finally, he said it.
I haven't hit the button
Finally,
yet.
Simon stood up to those fucking pieces of shit that won't let him speak his truth.
He's doing this.
Like
now.
a room of uniform voices.
Take us to break, Maddie.
All right, we're going to take a break. We'll pay a bill, and we'll be right back. We're back. Thank you so much to BetterHelp. Kamar, can we get a name and a number?
2150, Greg Overton.
If I could, just before we start, because I feel like Matt was really like gaslighting me before. And
This fucking guy.
I just like I said to you guys off air, but I think everybody deserves to hear, all 6 people who listen. I listen to a lot of Bigfoot a week. And then I come and I tell you 2 little fucking stories. That is 0.00008% of what's in my head. You should be thanking me, not reprimanding
No, I'm not
me.
thanking you.
You should be like,
stop,
Simon.
You should stop torturing yourself. What are you doing with your life? Do we need an intervention? You don't need to be doing this to yourself, Simon. You're better than this.
I have, you know what, Matt?
What? I think you're way better than this.
You're better than this.
Am I?
What do you do?
Nothing.
So what
But
do
I
you,
don't-
what do
I
you,
don't
what do you
listen to-
listen to a week?
Music. You should try it.
Pathetic. You listen to fucking Drake and Kendrick fighting like little fucking girls.
Are you laughing at me? Are you laughing at me, 50-year-old Bigfoot fan?
Congratulations.
Fucking guy.
Dude, I can't.
Won't even go out into the woods and look for him. Pussy.
You don't know what I do. in
I
my
know
free
what you
time.
do. You think Bigfoot listens to Bigfoot podcasts?
Well, you know he doesn't, Matt. They don't have electricity in the woods.
Really? You don't think he's found a rogue generator out
they
there?
might have their own podcast, like the Crows tell stories about the fucking
I like that.
places they've gone.
I like that.
Anyways, so just all I'm saying is you should be thanking me. If you don't like hearing about Bigfoot, I mean,
Did
you
you
should
bet-
probably
did you-
find another podcast.
Did
to
you
listen
bet the
to.
over-under on how many times you would mention Bigfoot this... Is this a Jonte Porter thing?
I got to make
Like,
my
is
money
FanDuel
somewhere.
going to call
buddy.
me this week and be
I
like, you
gotta
guys are
make
under
my money
investigation?
somewhere.
Kamar, name and a number so we can get this fucking...
It's still 2150, Greg Overton.
No, I thought we were doing
we're
the
starting
other guy
with Terrence
first.
Howard.
Yeah,
Pardon me, pardon
Because
me.
we're
Can't
giving
even get- can't even get that right.
Overton's getting 10 minutes.
Sorry, gang. Thanks for listening, anyways. 2152. Things will never be the same. Terrence Howard.
I
You know
wish I was smart enough to understand what the fuck he was talking about.
That's also a good starting point because I want to get to Kamar because Kamar comes in here every week. Every week we smoke a joint. Simon chain smokes some cigarettes and we talk out back for like 15 minutes to shoot the shit. And Kamar always comes in with something really poignant, or at least he... No?
No, I think that's just the wrong word. some infatuation.
Okay.
My buzz
Sure.
thing.
Whatever. Yeah. Kamar's flavor of the week he usually comes in with, and it's usually something. No, not usually, but sometimes it's something that I feel is even above his head. And I felt like, and now that I've heard Terrence Howard, I know for sure it's above your head.
He was trying to explain something to us that he couldn't possibly comprehend.
Precisely. Yeah. Which
And
is
that's
fine.
why it came out like fucking word vomit.
Well, no, and the real problem, as I see it, is that I am equally stupid. I'd like to extend the olive branch, Kamar. I am equally stupid. So I cannot offer any true, plausible, good.
Well, not having heard the same interview he had, of course not. Now having heard the same thing he
No,
has,
but I still
You
can't.
still
Yeah,
can't.
yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
know.
I wanna make
It's
that clear.
It's insane.
I thought I had a leg up on everyone.
It's insane. I can't wait to see how Kamar, or should I say Chad, formulated notes for this episode, because everything he talked about was just didn't make any sense. And I don't mean it wasn't true. I assume it was true. I mean, I couldn't understand it.
It's good that, it's rare you're hearing me say this, but it's good that Gad Sad was on last week, because the whole time this guy was talking, I just had to keep saying in the back of my head, this guy's either crazy or a future Nobel Prize winner. Right? You know what I mean? I was like, those are the two options.
And Kamar, Joe did make a good point. Like, when somebody who's famous for something else tries to like step into another lane,
very difficult.
Very difficult.
Immediate
If it was
ridicule.
just some nerd working on like the unified theory and he came to some amazing breakthrough, you would look at it a lot differently. Like we look at Terrence Howard, and again, I'm not saying whether he's right or wrong.
No, you're like, it's
'cause
hard out here for
I
him.
have no idea. Yeah, exactly. But yeah, who knows, right? Like,
Well, he doesn't believe in Schrodinger's cat. He thinks it's all a fallacy. But if there was Schrodinger's cat, there would be. If this was your first introduction to Terrence Howard,
Yeah.
not knowing you never saw him in a movie, didn't know who he was, there'd be obviously that reaction to him versus, like you said, the bias that you have. That isn't an actor that Joe did bring up.
now go ahead with your notes.
He said he woke up in the womb.
I mean, I really wish he hadn't started this way, because it's a.
Did you think there was a little bit of Cat Williams going on?
I don't know.
I felt like he was a much more polished version of Cat Williams.
What if
he was like a Cat Williams,
PhD Cat Williams.
who could explain the receipts so you couldn't understand them?
What if a lot of the books that Cat Williams read were children's books? He might have flown through a couple more than. But yes, this is far fetched to think he.
They're all green
He
eggs
said
and
he had
ham.
an anecdotal connection when he did it with his son. Sort of got the same sort of results. But this guy could be. Everything's on the table here.
Terrence Howard?
Jesus. Like he could be that voice.
I mean, it was weird. Hold on. It was weird that he was like, I remember being in the womb, and then kind of stretched it to, and I made my son remember being in the womb. Like, listen, if you play music, the kid's going to react. If there's a light, like, I bet the whole shit lights up in there. It's probably like, what the fuck?
Mm-hmm.
And if you do that every night, like him being like, no, he moved with it. I don't know. That's,
No, and maybe that is a thing, like kind of like a plant moves with the light.
Sure.
You know?
Yeah.
That has nothing to do really with him having a memory in the womb.
Precisely.
That's totally different. That sounds crazy to me. Imagine, and he said, what was he saying? Like, just remember to get out, remember to get out, or don't forget about me. Just imagine just being conscious in the womb that whole time,
It's maybe the
like
least wild thing about this whole
awake
experience,
for
though.
operation.
Because the first thing I did when I saw him the first time in that debate at Oxford was like Wikipedia him to find out like
what are the 97
Does he
patents?
really
You
have
must
all those
know.
patents?
patents. Do I must know what all 97
Well,
patents are, is what he said.
Hold on. You just said you went to the Wikipedia page.
He
I
said he
figured-
had the patents, and I didn't believe he had the patents. I don't know what to believe because you have this thing in your back head, buddy. You're an actor.
They're-
How could you know this that no one else knows?
They're patents for the incidentals, which he never explained to us what they were. You know what I mean? These things.
Well, no, he said one of them, which we'll get to.
Okay. Yeah, the light. That was interesting.
1 times 1 equals 1, but it should equal 2. If you have one is something and another one is something, you multiply them together.
1 times 0 equals 0, but where does the 1
So
go?
his big contention with everything we think we know, there's a little. Why is that? Just don't worry about that. Everything else makes sense. And that one thing he contends is the secret to.
And that kind of
I'm not
makes
sure.
that kind of makes sense when you look at quantum physics as a whole, because they're kind of saying like, you guys are now like, you're smart enough to see that the lie we sold you doesn't make any sense, but if we make up whatever science here, quantum physics, well, now Schrodinger's cat, everything makes sense.
We're so close. We're just so close.
So maybe it really was like, maybe in these psychedelic movements, these times that the powers that be have gone to quell the hippie movement, before that, the Eleusinian mysteries, all of these times where people had reached this great state of knowledge and then were.
You think the hippie movement had reached a great state of knowledge?
Well, that was the idea, right? They were going from this, like, they were fighting back against the warmonger idea, and everybody was like free love, and they were all doing these mind expanding drugs, and the powers that be were like, fuck this. We're Tiananmen squaring this shit. And we never talked about any of the
Mandela
effect, by the way.
I know we start off with it, and you guys didn't really help carry the load.
I believe Bigfoot probably derailed us at some point, but let's not bring it up. Let's not do
that
this
was
again.
like 2 seconds, but anyways.
So he tried to bring this up with Neil deGrasse Tyson, who poo-pooed it. Ideally, there'll be a debate between Terrence and Neil. Anyone could have facilitated it would be Joe.
I bet that was awkward too. I bet Terrence went up like this, like, yes, Neil deGrasse Tyson, my brother. And he was probably like,
Yeah, what up, my N-word?
well, Jesus.
Yep, that's what he meant, though.
That's what he meant, yeah. I was going to say, sorry, no, I forgot.
Mandela effect, you want to talk about that?
No, it was not the Mandela.
No, it's got to be tough that Neil deGrasse Tyson shot him down, because we know that he's a famous asshole. So,
And like you said, they had the car. They should have met on a level. Right away, Terrence tries to do something with his phone and says, they're fucking with my phone. And it sounds like this crazy person
but then Jamie's computer.
talking about, but moments later.
And Joe says, maybe you dropped your phone. Maybe that's why it's not working. And then moments later, in the best moment of comedy history of all time on the JRE,
Jamie's going on and on about his computer not working.
Yeah, and Terrence like, maybe you dropped your computer.
I fucking died laughing, man. I died laughing. It was so funny.
Have they been to the moon? It had just that sort of
Yeah.
je ne sais quoi to it.
No, it was hilarious.
It was like
dude.
the moment that broke the Joe Rogan experience, you know? Everything just imploded from there.
But because of that, they did get sidetracked by the COVID vaccine, spike proteins, and he got very passionate about that. Luckily, they were able to bring it back because that led to Tuskegee, which is just crazy.
Yeah.
And again, these things that happen that we just brush under the rug, whatever you have to do, that we should do that with everything.
Just one example of the like lack of conscience that the US government had towards their own people. Like, they didn't give a fuck.
Nope.
They talk about like how great a place it is to live. They were doing all sorts of experiments, all sorts of Nazi experiments
On purpose.
I don't say that to be facetious. They were actually being led by Nazis that the American government brought over to head their programs. Think about that for a second. It's insane. You know, in Russia, you know how they split them? I think we've talked about this before. They split, right? They was like, I'll take this guy, we'll take this guy. It was like pick'ems in the schoolyard. In Russia, those guys worked for the government and were treated like shit, like the Nazis they were. Here, they became fucking pillars of society.
Do you spit in your eye there with pillars?
No.
Oh,
Sorry.
pillars.
Pillars of society.
Well, if you had Operation Paperclip on your JREE bingo, you can stamp that one.
One thing, Terrence seems to think the planet is round.
He hasn't figured it out yet.
and he thinks it's hollow inside.
Oh, he has
A
figured
bubble
it out.
inside.
Oh, he has figured it out.
I'm okay with that.
Simon,
I
quick U-turn.
I'm okay with that. If he wants to think it's round but it's hollow, now we're talking.
Now that goes against when they dig 12 kilometers down, it starts getting hot. There's something hot down there.
No, that would totally make sense, Kamar, because if the Earth is hollow and people live down there, they still need a light source, a heat source. Like we have the sun, they have the center of the Earth. It totally makes sense. Your fucking magma thing is so right. You don't know how right it is.
It is, but it's not the same as what they
heat
say.
of the sun down there.
I like that.
And
don't
it's
even know.
powering a whole other Earth that we don't know about. Our Earth is actually two Earths. You could turn it inside out and have another Earth on the outside. It's like one of those Nerf balls that's like smooth on one side
Yeah.
but spiky on the other.
Yeah. God, you remember the Nerf ball that you could throw? Remember the Nerf football that had the wings
The
on the
wings
back?
on
that
it.
you could
Everyone's
throw?
Brett Favre.
Dude, yeah, you could throw that thing just 6
That's
kilometers.
technology. Terrence contends that the universe is finite. Like, he's saying crazy stuff, and I want to say he's got to be on the clock, right?
This was the only thing I felt like he
said the universe was finite?
Yeah, this was the only thing I felt like he expressed in a way that potentially maybe I could grasp. The way he was like, he used the wave analogy. Like he was like, if you drop a pebble in a lake, it ripples out continuously. But if you had like a container and you dropped a pebble in it ripples out until it hits the walls and then it ripples back in. And he was like, I think that's what he was demonstrating with that.
I thought
Well, that's what everything else in the universe is, except for the universe. That's sort of the idea I get.
I thought he was saying that everything in the universe is constantly moving away from the sun.
No. Well, I mean, he might have said
Yeah,
that.
until it's another sun, and then that's going to make it move away from it.
Okay, interesting.
And then it comes back.
Gotcha.
Possibly, if any of this is true. But the sun is making the planets. Discharges or gas, and over millions of years, those form and become
Well, that sounds like evolution, right?
totally possible.
Sounds like evolution.
Something comes from somewhere, lands in the ocean, then becomes something that swims, and then becomes something with feet and crawls onto the land and becomes something else, which eventually becomes us. Isn't that that's like Darwinian evolution, right?
If that's what it is, yeah. And then that becomes three guys around a table having no idea what they're talking about.
Yeah, I don't think I believe that anymore.
But we have understood that he mentioned the rats with the morphic resonance.
Yeah.
And a rat learned something here.
Rupert Sheldrake.
It figures it out in.
Yeah, that just doesn't make any sense.
But it is. It doesn't make any sense.
It
but
doesn't make any sense.
None of this makes sense. But again,
No, but that goes to the simulation to me. Like if that actually is a thing and that's real, and you teach a rat something in New York and another rat that doesn't even know that rat in real time in France learns the lessons from this rat, that to me tells us that there's like...
But Simon, if there are no aliens, couldn't you make an argument like the pyramids are an example of that?
What do you mean? Like the fact that there are pyramids everywhere?
Everywhere, yeah. That it was maybe morphic resonance and like someone built one and then someone across the world was like, let's get a bunch of stones.
I mean,
together.
that's totally possible. It's totally possible. It's not my opinion of how it works.
Of course.
I think, no, I don't think it was aliens. I think there was like well, I just think the Earth is so much older. There were lots of people traveling around for a really long time. And those people were part of a group that knew these megalithic building techniques, and they passed this knowledge along to lots of different, like the reason we don't think that can work, Matt, is because they didn't even believe that they could take boats to get to each other to tell them the information. You know what I mean?
The only reason I don't believe that to be true is because these monolithic structures must have
Megalithic.
must have taken a long time to build. And what I'm saying is like I guess the people that built the last one can then pass it on. Maybe I guess that's possible.
No, but this is the thing about the morphic resonance and then now frequencies. So this idea that the rats learn everything.
That's instant, right?
Back to the wave, though. If you think of the wave as up and up, up and down, if you were to compress the wave, all of a sudden here is right next to there instead of that. And so they could have used a frequency to remove that material from that spot and then reconstitute it in that spot, and then it could have been done.
Yeah, and I'm agreeing with that too.
Could have been.
Like,
I don't
if you're working with some sort of frequency power,
everything is waves.
where you can meld stones or whatever.
Everything
things
is
can
waves.
be a lot faster.
That's a fact. Waves is the universe. I really got hung up on the thing you talked about, no straight lines.
Well, that makes sense because if you really think about it, like let's say you're in a plane and you're flying over what looks like a road that's straight, you can get down there and find out that that road is, again, it's fairly straight, but it's not, it's not bang straight. The same way, like I could draw you a line on a piece of paper, obviously much harder, Simon will tell you. It could look straight, but microscopically, like way off. And that just makes sense that, sure, that I got behind too. Like, I guess there's no straight.
So in nature, there are no straight lines. Zero straight lines. Nothing has straight lines.
Well, if you look at when you're going on an electron microscope, you eventually get to a point where you're going to see two things going either left or right, because that's all they do. And the crux of all this is they have no idea why they're doing that or what they are, because everything is moving right now.
No, but I'm even saying, like, even in nature, things that are like natural to this world don't seem to have straight lines. It's the things we build that have straight lines.
I could say ice seems like it has straight lines in it.
But it's not straight lines at all.
At all.
Like, it's so bumpy and uneven, and there's no. If you see a perfect sheet of ice, it's because we Zamboni'd it. We put it on a level
that's even
floor
what straight
and
is.
we Zamboni'd it.
Everything is waves. And then that all comes to the broccoli, the Fibonacci sequence, the toilet bowl flush, the whirlpool. That's another microcosm of a universe spinning around. The centrifugal, circular nature of everything. The atoms that make up this table are all electrons or protons spinning around like a little mini universe that we know that we don't know why. He thinks, I believe he knows why.
What are you saying?
I have no idea what he's saying, but the only thing I was thinking about was like, if every cell in your body is a universe,
Yep.
You are the simulation.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Back to where
like,
he came from.
It's so crazy to think like that every tiny cell in your body. It's so weird.
So
Anyways,
he claims to have the
but that
patents.
makes a lot more sense than what he said, because he said verbal diarrhea.
He claims to have patents for VR and AR that he had from 2010.
Well, he has 97 patents.
Here's the weird thing is like, you aren't poor.
I'm not.
No,
I am
him.
not.
No.
He's not.
Terrence Howard.
I'm not saying like I understand. I heard him talking about how
He's not in it for the money.
No, you're missing my point
He's
though.
saying, why doesn't he do all these things, these
You would
experiments?
even then you would protect your patent. If billion-dollar corporations are using it to make money, most people protect their patents. You would at least get a small chunk of the pie.
Well, he said he's able to use the technologies that they make from it because he has it, which I didn't have the time to look into that.
Did he claim to invent the question mark or the rocking chair? Because that might be a problem. You guys, if you didn't watch it, Kamar, but if you did, Matt, he had, like, I believe what he was saying.
Yeah.
But he had crazy eyes. When he would look at Joe, it was like looking at like a psychotic girlfriend.
Dude, the fact that he had his alarm set and like had to do that on air was a bit
awesome.
egregious.
It was awesome.
It was real.
I love when they're playing the clip and Joe's like, Jamie, you're playing two things at the same time. He's like, no, this was
that's
at
me
my
talking
kitchen
in the
table
back.
and that's my wife talking in the background. And Joe's like, oh, I get it. Let it finish, Jamie.
Fucking hilarious.
So he doesn't think it's gravity. It's actually electromagnetic.
Yeah.
See, and I don't know what it is, but I totally believe that they've been lying to us about something like gravity.
Or they are telling you something because they don't know.
No, they know. I don't know why they want us to believe it's this way, but like when you look at like the Rockefellers coming in, changing our schooling textbooks and shit, right at the same time you have like this guy Albert Einstein making all these amazing discoveries that everybody just accepts as the new way of looking at things, and nobody's like checking his math or anything. There was some really weird shit going on, man.
There is.
All around that same time where they were restructuring, air quotes, the new way we were going to think about things. And it all coincides too with the banking system, this new banking system they were bringing in, the Federal Reserve, in air quotes, where they're just robbing you to your face. And everybody's just accepting it because all of a sudden that's what they're teaching the kids to accept in school. And you're a parent and you don't know what the fuck's going on. There's like drag hour. You know what I mean? Like that could have been happening back in the day, but they were teaching your kids about the Federal Reserve. Anyways, sorry. I'm sorry.
Nice rant, Simon.
So
Great.
he also has a patent for a linchpin.
What was a linchpin? I never got there. He said they were
It's
amazing.
water. It's a zap of light.
Four bubbles meeting at the same
More
point.
energy out than.
Like I was so
Dude, I
lost.
didn't understand. Like, yeah.
But he said they do know that the speed of light isn't constant. Sometimes light is this fast. Sometimes it's even faster. If they do know that, I'm interested to see how they. But then that would be another one. Why is that? We don't know, but just take your word for it. Everything else adds up. So.
Why is the speed of light at that? It probably is, Kamar, because that was the only way that one of their equations would make sense. Because they were like working backwards and they're like, okay, what number do we need right here to make this make sense? And they're like, 782,000. Okay, that's how fast the world spins. That's how fast the speed of light is. Like, I think they were just reaching into their fucking hats.
Again, the world spins this way.
Yeah.
Then it spins this way.
And then the universe
and
spins.
on each point, it's a lot faster.
Yeah, okay.
It's crazy.
It doesn't. You sound like him now. None of that made any sense to me.
Speed light is a constant. Terrence is ready to debate, but I feel like he could get a debate with Neil deGrasse Tyson and jump on the desk and slice his throat. Just rip his throat out with his hands.
If he was gonna debate,
Yeah.
he would come out like he's not good at explaining it. I didn't understand anything. I'm on his side. And I couldn't understand what the fuck he was talking about. So how is he going to debate anybody? And the best part of the podcast was his telling Jamie that maybe he dropped his computer. But the second best part was when he said, I was really angry, Joe, and I thought I might just use all my vast power to destroy the world. And Joe said, well, I'm sure glad you didn't do that.
At 2 hour mark of the podcast, Joe did put me at ease when he said, I wish I could understand what you're saying.
He said, I'm close. I'm on the edge of understanding, which I thought was a bold-faced lie.
But now, instead of destroying the world, Terrence said his number one thing would rid the world of currency.
Well, you see, I think I kind of agree with that. Again, it goes back to this fucking scam, the Federal Reserve.
The biggest problem is no matter what happens, I mean, and you're going to say, duh, obvious, Kamar, but no matter what happens, black swan events, pandemics, everything, there's never one where it's like middle class actually did good through this thing and the rich people are getting hammered. Well, there's just never that one moment where it's like...
Well, this whole Loblaws thing is interesting.
Yeah.
The
boycott
on Loblaws. Because if we could, we being the people, I don't shop at Loblaws, so I don't know, but if we could all get together and actually make this like mammoth company come to its knees,
won't
that's
happen.
You say that, and that's what most people think, Matt, which is why everybody just continues to shop at Loblaws. But if you knew that these boycotts would actually make a difference, and they were making a difference, like imagine if the people could take control like that. Like right now, we're just under the thumbs of these giant companies. Like I saw this TikTok the other day where it's this girl, and she's like this young girl, and she's like, I don't get it. Like somebody gives me money, they paid tax on it, and then I have to pay tax on it, and then I spend my money here, and then I pay tax on it again, and then that store that sells me the thing pays tax on it again. Like, it sounds insane. It sounds crazy. And
Sounds
you're
like
like,
me 3
I
weeks
remember
ago.
my dad saying to me, like, that's the way it is, dummy. You know what I mean? Just because you just accepted it because that's what they told us to do. That's crazy. We're being taxed like 15 times on the same fucking dollar.
But you know, that's not the problem, Simon. The problem is, and maybe we are so privileged not to see the difference, but it seems like the services are under par.
You're talking about the government.
Well, just everything, the delivery for how much we get taxed, what we get for it, it seems to be going somewhere
way under par.
other than-
We used to say, well, we have free medical care, so of course our money is going to somewhere good. They took 2 years to fix my fucking neck and then didn't fix it. Like, who gives a fuck?
Yeah, I agree.
This whole thing is a fucking scam. We have just come to accept these things because our parents accepted them and probably their parents accepted them. And then maybe before that, like, people were a little freer because there weren't so many rules applied, right? Like, there were still rules, of course. There's always been laws, but we know that the government used to have way less of a role in like day-to-day living of people.
We can only hope that younger people have time to like protest for Gaza and realize the tax code's fucked up or something like that. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, they probably shouldn't be protesting for Gaza.
I'm pulling that as a recent example of any time there's been a student movement. Forget the cause. Just forget the cause. But we for sure know that it would have been the Bilderberg Group or the G7 things when we were young. There were huge riots and stuff. And even though that was about business, I wasn't thinking about how much I got taxed and when I get paid, it gets taxed.
That was actually an organic. Like, now I'm just afraid that, like,
That's what you thought.
you're gathering all these people together to fight these causes. The people who are gathering you together are the fucking Chinese government. Like, they're doing that through TikTok.
I bet it's not even that far
They're
away.
just running you like a puppet. It's insane. And you don't even understand. Like, the Queers for Palestine is the perfect fucking example.
Up is down.
You are there protesting for people who want to kill you. It's like if they had their druthers, you wouldn't be allowed to breathe.
The other one is Palestinians going to Israel.
You don't have anything to say to that?
Palestinians going to Israel for abortions because it's illegal in Palestine. That's the most wild one. You can't even wrap your head around it. So
Well, we also don't know that that's true.
we don't know. Yeah, we know that's true. We know it's illegal in Palestine.
Okay, but how do you
abortion.
know it's true because you read it somewhere because Jimmy Dore said it? That's what
No,
I'm
no,
saying.
no. It was like a news article.
Yeah, you don't believe the news. You get what I'm saying?
Okay, yeah, you're right. I can't believe anything I read.
You do know that abortion is illegal there, though.
Yeah,
Whether
I'm
they're
sure it
going
is.
across it.
Well,
to
that's a law. I
Israel.
didn't
I
read
just
it.
also thought that Israel wasn't exactly like, hey, Palestinians, come on over.
No, the media is telling you that Palestine is so bad, and it's not good. I mean, Israel is so bad, but Israel has got to have some good
This is
relationship.
an interesting moment, though, because we don't know what's true. None
That's
of
what I'm
us.
saying.
None
Yeah,
of us
no.
know what's true. The opinion you formulated could be based on some shit that they're feeding you, and the counter to that opinion could be formed from shit that somebody's feeding you. Like, we don't know.
Yeah.
We don't know, but we do.
abortion is
We
illegal
do
in
know
Palestine.
some things for
That's what we know.
certain.
That's what we know.
Abortion is illegal in Palestine. We also know that they kill gay people in Palestine.
Yeah.
Okay, these are truths we know for sure. Everything else coming from the
So I'm just curious
The media.
if it was Christians for Palestine, you'd have a problem with that too, right?
Christians for Palestine.
Yeah, like
because they want to kill Christians.
Sure. Let's say
Well, I mean, it would seem fucking stupid to be trying
again-
to protect the people who would just as easily turn around and eliminate you.
but hear me out. If the Christian way is I don't want innocent people to die, you have no problem with that message, right?
I've heard that the Christians are worried that innocent people would destroy their Christian.
You get where I'm going with this
I
though? Like
kind of do.
if the idea is simply not like I get what you're saying. The idea of queers for Palestine is ridiculous on its face in that, yes, they would kill you. Were you there? Were you in their country saying, we're here to support you? They would stone you to death where you stand. I'm with you. I understand all that. If the simple message is, I'm queer and I don't want innocent Palestinians dying, that's not that hard to wrap your head around.
Yeah. You're allowed to do that. Both things can be right. Especially with the show.
However, but Simon, I'm still with you that if that rally is started by the Chinese government or some foreign government, and it's just a bunch of stupid, I don't mean stupid queers in like the sense that, I mean just people that are ignorant and happen to be gay show up saying, I don't want innocent.
Yeah, I think you'd be surprised if you took a census of those rallies, how many people were there to actually like support something good, as opposed to how many people are there to get like some social score by showing up to these things. Like we see it over and over again. We saw it with Black Lives Matter.
Listen,
It's
we saw it
exactly
with Constantine, whatever. He said he went out. We saw the interviews with people, but keep in mind, none of those people seemed like, all those people he interviewed seemed like they had no idea why they were there, but also none of them seemed like they were like, I think all Jews should be wiped off the face of the earth. You agree with that, right?
Agreed, but it's like saying, I don't think that Jews should be wiped off the earth while you're holding a sign that says Jews should be wiped off the earth. Like,
but it doesn't say Jews should be wiped off the earth. That's the difference.
well,
You realize that, right?
It's a dog whistle to that.
I
Almost everybody knows that.
Dude, there's so many stupid people out there. I read this thing the other day. Apparently, it's like 52% of Americans that graduate high school are illiterate. They graduate
So they
illiterate.
can't even read the sign that says from the river to the sea.
This is what I'm saying. It could,
that's a whole different problem.
Simon, for all they know, it could say wipe all the Jews off. Like, they don't know what
They
the
thought
sign
it would
says.
say bring Seinfeld back.
And by the way, Americans, I'm not throwing you under the bus.
No,
we're no
you threw
fucking
them
better.
right under the bus.
No, we're no fucking better. Our education system is just as shit.
Listen, we're all being taught the same lies.
Yeah.
So,
Simon, my point is, don't mistake malice for stupidity. Is or whatever
don't
the
mistake
fucking
stupidity for malice.
yes. And I'm just saying that I think a lot of these people, especially young people,
I think
right?
both exist.
Sure.
Yeah.
But I'm saying, sorry, when you see a bunch of young people down there, try to put yourself in a 20-year-old's head. You're dumb. You don't know a lot.
I get it.
You're just like you said, a lot of them are there because their friends are there.
And you don't have to be young. Like, we have the perfect example here.
Sure. But
I wonder if that'd be enough to sway them.
I just go back to, I want to give people the benefit of the doubt. I don't think most people want Jews wiped off the face of the earth.
Oh, no,
Okay.
a lot of people do.
We just want you to admit that you run the world once and for all. Just say it out loud.
A lot
and then
of
we'll all
people
be
at
happy.
those rallies do. A lot of people at those
I think
rallies
it depends on the rally.
are young.
But would you not agree it depends on the rally?
I don't know what the right word is. Ethnic.
Sure, I get what you're saying. Yeah, but again, if you see one at UC Berkeley and they're all white kids, I think we can agree that most of those people
Yeah,
aren't like right.
Remember, I was telling you last week about there's the mini mall.
Yes, with the
in-
pistachios.
with the pistachio
Yes, you
store.
made it very
so
clear.
the name of the sushi restaurant, because
Yeah.
I passed it again today
Yeah.
and I made a mental note. Are you ready for this?
Yeah.
You're going to die.
Okay.
Red Sea Sushi. Get the fuck out of here, man. They're gaslighting. They're gaslighting us. That's exactly what that is. It's like, this is a pretend store. We're putting it here to show you how great we're doing. The group, by the way, that builds all the mini complexes that hardly ever get built, the Saade Group. Saade
Yeah,
with the
careful.
accent.
Yeah. Listen, Simon.
You'll see them around. They'll be your overlords.
Yeah, either way, I'm not saying I agree with you. The Queers for Palestine on its face value is absolutely ridiculous.
It seems a little oxymoronic.
Yes, it does. Yeah, I agree. But again, I think if you want to give people, especially if you want to give young people the benefit of the doubt, it's probably not like most of them really want your people wiped off the face of the earth. That's all I'm saying.
Isn't it funny that that's the term oxymoron?
Yeah.
Like that, it just kind of fits in this case, no?
What I think I understand is that for Russia or Israel, they could have destroyed Gaza or Ukraine if they wanted to.
I mean, of course they could, but they have the rest of the world to deal with. It's not just that easy that you're going to just destroy somebody and then have no allies.
And so, therefore, they're doing what they're doing and trying to do it the easiest way as possible. Unfortunately,
Yeah, listen, I think the whole thing is so fucking hypocritical coming from the US. Like, are you guys fucking kidding me?
Of course.
They're raging one genocide, apparently, and you're raging like 4, 5, 6, 10, 12 at the
course.
same time all over the world. Like, come on.
No, well, first of all, the U.S. can't say shit because they have
No,
their
they
hands
cannot.
all over this.
They have their thumb in every genocide pie there is.
No, but this one especially, like we know how much the U.S. funds Israel. It's
Well,
insane.
this one-
we also know that the U.S. planned to go into Iran ages ago, and that this is the perfect conduit to do it. Like,
Yeah, for sure. And if you break down the Russia Ukraine war, like the U.S. pushed Ukraine to join NATO, even though they knew that the second they did that, the Russia was going to have to respond because he said he was going to respond. Like,
well, and
and then they fund them with all the weapons. Like, it's so obvious. It's so see-through.
well, and what if they blew up that pipeline?
I mean, even more to it, right? So they start the whole thing, and then, dude, like, don't get me started.
Bring back the martyr.
Don't get me fucking. Well, let's get back to where we've veered so far off Terrence Howard here.
Yeah.
But hold on,
so-
wait. Well, just in closing though, Simon, you also, you forget foreign governments. Like the U.S. government has a great deal invested in those bullshit rallies where it's queers for Palestine. It's just a fucking smokescreen at the end of the day. Like it's easier to reach into your pocket if you're busy out on the street with a sign saying queers for Palestine.
It's easier to reach into my pocket.
Yeah.
What does that mean?
If you're out on what I mean is like if you're distracted with queers for Palestine, you don't realize that, hey, guess what? Like we just printed another $7 trillion
Right. Yeah,
and your
yeah.
money's not worth anything.
Yeah. If you're focused on buildings falling down, you don't notice that $7 trillion went missing.
This is my point.
Yeah.
It's a lot easier for you to get fucked when you have this smoke screen in front of you that you think matters and that you think you're doing the right thing.
Yeah, no, listen, I think that's all part of the way that things have always worked. Here too, like I'm not saying we're any different. We're just like a little slower on the draw, but we end up getting fucked the same way.
No, we're just unimportant. That's the difference. Like the U.S. is a very important place, and everything that happens there is important. There's 36 million of us living
Yeah, yeah.
along the U.S. border. We are irrelevant.
No,
in
I
the
just
world.
mean our government is equally corrupt. It's
our
just
government
so
s-
small
our
and
government
inefficient that it can't really
stinks.
do anything.
Our government's worse than theirs. Way worse. Our government
I don't know
fucking
about that.
sucks.
I don't know about that. Our government stinks, but I don't know about that.
I mean on a domestic level. I'm not talking about foreign policy. I'm just talking about like as far as like what I don't know. I feel like our government's fucking us way harder. Tough. Maybe you're right.
It just feels like everyone in like who operates off of these banking systems is just like a slave and doesn't even realize it.
Go ahead, Kamar. Sorry.
Okay, right, but back to straight lines. He was talking about how chips, and if you look at them, they do have corners where you could think the electric impulse would have to turn at some point. I mean, that in itself, he's talking about round chips or whatever he's talking about, but it all adds up to
He was talking about how nothing should be like the houses we build are
Impeding the flow.
totally inefficient to the wind. And
well, I would say houses in Tornado Alley, houses in hurricane-prone spots should definitely look at that. And I feel like Kanye talked about something about a round house.
he kind of did, but isn't it interesting when he broke it down to like he's like, we build houses with straight lines like this because the building blocks they give us have straight lines. Like we build our houses like this because bricks are straight. It's very hard to take those bricks or wood or anything and turn it into a round. It's way more. He said it was easier, but if you've ever done any woodworking, you know how difficult that is.
I think what he meant is it's easier than building a house every 3 years.
That's right, I
got
guess.
straight lines.
I think it's also more efficient. Like we're not straight, but we stand up straight. When you build a house, like even if you've ever been in a home where the second story has like a lot of those bedrooms are useless space because the fucking roof goes right to the floor. You get what I'm saying?
I mean, kinda, except they just build out dormers to give you that extra.
I'm just saying
headspace.
when you go to Florida, there's no basements. There's a reason for that. When you go to fucking the Keys, they're all built on stilts. There's a reason for that. Like it's not all some big fucking conspiracy that has to do with straight lines. Like sometimes we build houses the way we
Apparently, it could be.
or it does, and we've made up these reasons in our head to explain why the world works the way it works.
Listen, the smartest way to build a house would probably be like to build them on a hill underground, realistically. But it's just the cost of doing that is so.
What I was gonna say earlier was, so he brought out that shape thing, that weird thing that clicks together with the 5 bonds and then this and that. Maybe that's like we work with bricks. But if you worked with something like that, which he's patented, by the way, so maybe one day, it's just super easy. Like, have you ever built with
What if it's triangles?
you built with Lego, okay?
That is
And you're
assets.
trying to do like a round roof with Lego, and you have to put every block on top of each other to kind of make a round roof. But then you start working with those what the fuck were they called? Not connects, but they were something else. They were like these discs, kind of like what he was showing actually. And then you can build like round roofs, no problem, because everyone is hinged together with this bond that is way more malleable than these stone bricks. Like I can kind of see that. We're just using the wrong material. Of course, we're building houses like that's all we can build. And when we build something different, it's because we've manipulated the building blocks to be able to do that.
But it's also price. Like you guys are, you're forgetting that this
not
guy's,
according to his patent, Matt.
yeah, which again, but this guy's useless. No one patents stuff and then sits on it and does nothing. That's not how patents work. You either patent something because you want to sell it to someone, license it out, or you want to build the fucking thing yourself. That's
Or
it.
things
don't-
get stopped, Matt. Like example,
No, he's alive. He was just
William
on Joe
Randall Hearst. Randolph Hearst and the decorticator. Like he made sure that a great technology was never seen by the masses to make sure that this new better thing never got there. That's what man is capable of doing. They're
Yes,
capable
I
of
realize
stopping.
That. You're missing my point though. The decorticator was made. This guy's like, I have all these patents. I don't do anything with them.
Well, he's
So
saying
there's no
now
one to
he
shut-
is going to do things with them.
Well, great.
He's
I
on
hope
the
he
clock.
does.
He's on the clock.
Yes, thank you. That's all I'm looking for.
I mean, listen, he could be totally full of crap.
he could be.
The thing I liked about him was he was poking holes in some of the like things we consider solid. No pun intended.
Mm-hmm. Such as?
Such as like the table of elements, gravity, evolution, how the world works,
Theories.
what it's made of. Yeah, all these you know what a theory is?
Yeah.
It's your best guess of the way something may work based on what you can understand about it.
But that's why. So when you were talking about him debating, I was like, it's so stupid. Like it's like two theoretical physicists debating.
But maybe
Like you're debating your theory
maybe
against mine.
that's
It's like
the
what we do here every week. It's fucking stupid.
maybe that's the last step that has to happen. Like who knows what energy this being broadcast, the Oxford, the people thinking. Because he talked, so he started talking about getting canceled by Rolling Stone.
Sorry, just before you jump there, must be how Galileo and people like that must have felt, right? As they're trying to explain what we now know as obvious to a bunch of dullards back in the day. And they're like, that can't possibly be the way. And they're just like going crazy trying to explain the obvious to people that they can see, that nobody else can see. And then 100 years later, they're revered as geniuses.
I said off the rip, this guy's either going to be batshit crazy or he's going to win the Nobel Prize. It's one or the other. And
I'm not saying he's the guy. I'm just saying that if you are that far ahead of the curve, it must be very like maybe that's what Elon was saying. Anyways, sorry, go ahead, Kamar, with Rolling Stone.
He talked about how his cancellation, he was about to, he started saying Tesla mentioned that 369, if the world understood those numbers. And that's the biggest glaring thing, is that his name is not taught, not mentioned, not part of the conversation of great thinkers of Earth. Is just, don't you find that?
We never got to the numbers either.
No, we didn't.
He never explained to us.
Because, and I thought this was insightful, he went in depth about his cancellation. Weird thing, he records everything he does.
No, but sorry, I don't want to, you are absolutely right. Tesla has been totally removed from history. And when you do hear about him, he's a loon who fell in love with a pigeon. That's the story that most people will tell you about Nikola Tesla, who probably came up with ideas that like are way more relevant than anything Einstein or Oppenheimer or any of those guys came up with.
okay, but let me ask you, assuming that there is no free energy, what did Tesla do? Since you seem to know a lot about him other than the pigeon.
Like our friend here, Tesla had thousands of patents.
I realize that.
Yeah.
My question is, you said he was erased from history. What I'm asking is like,
Well,
Very few people are remembered in history.
I think the big one was the energy. The fact that there is energy flowing all around us all the time.
Yeah.
And he had figured out a way to harness that energy and was going to bring that to the people as a
That's my
option.
caveat, though, is if that didn't exist, if he didn't do that.
Well, I'd have to look into more things.
I get it,
I
but-
saw that one. I was like, well, that's enough for me.
I understand. What I'm saying, though, is if there is no conspiracy, if Tesla just couldn't come up with free energy, if he was on to something but couldn't come up with it, right?
Yep.
And he was a guy with a lot of patents.
Yep.
Historically speaking, there have been a lot of people with a lot of patents. It doesn't necessarily you couldn't name me 10 patent holders right now. Is my point. So you guys are saying he was erased from history. What I'm saying is there's very few people that are remembered in history, realistically. We are talking about him. One of the most highly sought after companies in the world is named after
Well, I
him.
was just going to say, if Tesla hadn't have been called Tesla, you would hear zero about him. He would never be brought into the conversation. And it's just like...
But the three of us had heard about him.
Alexander Graham Bell and the other guy, you know what I mean? The guy who actually invented the telephone. We don't even know his fucking name. He's the third soprano.
He died in 1943.
Nikola
Tesla did?
Doesn't
Did he
that seem
die in
just
Croatia?
recent?
And you know
Nope,
who
New York
who
City.
was at his bed
Really?
holding his hand?
A pigeon.
The pigeon. According to
Yeah.
Main Street Media.
So he's tried to get into talking about Tesla, but he then talked about his cancellation story. I remember when he got removed from Iron Man, and he said I think he got Robert Downey Jr. that job or something, and it was interesting because Robert Downey Jr. had been in that very seat.
That's where
I
he
believe.
sounded like Cat Williams to me. Where he started talking about how he got people jobs and everybody, his whole thing was based on him. I don't know. It seemed weird, but maybe it's true.
because he was shared this with someone.
I mean, I heard him tell a story. If this is true, it's crazy.
Who, Cat Stevens or
Yeah, Cat Stevens.
not Cat Stevens, Cat Williams?
No, Terrence Howard. He was telling a story about how he was like, I performed Hustle and Flow or whatever the song, Hard Out Here for a Pimp. And he's like, but what Universal did was they credited the character with performing the song and they took all the royalties. So he's like, I got $50,000 for a movie that I won Best Supporting.
And
or-
also couldn't be put up for Oscar, I don't think.
I can't remember what it was, but yeah,
or whatever.
totally,
Academy Award.
totally railroaded if it's true.
So all that life, and it's hard to see him because you saw him in. He was really good playing a straight guy in Traffic. No, not Traffic. Crash, and his wife gets
Fucked up by the
assaulted
cops.
by Matt Dillon or whatever.
Yeah.
And the character he plays in that, you just have that ingrained in your head that he's that actor guy, and to have all that and trials and tribulations, and still he doesn't have to do this, right? He probably could just raise his kid, open up a Caribbean restaurant or whatever he want, just do something right off in the sunset. So his passion, I think, is what, the sniff test of he's not crazy, even though he comes off crazy.
Well, time will tell.
Nothing is dead in the universe. Like Rivik said, the Riz said, the consciousness is just
Riz.
wearing bodysuits and you take one off, forget everything, get on the next one. But have as much sex as possible and respect life and everyone.
What do you think his net worth is?
$50 million.
Terrence Howard, 20 million.
$4 million.
He's struggling. It ain't easy to
Hard out here for a pimp, yeah.
So net worth. Oh, here it says 30 million.
Okay, that's
So
a-
somewhere
it's a much
between
bigger
4
number.
and 30.
Wide berth.
Yeah.
Let's put him at 15 just for kicks.
But I mean, when I was listening to this podcast, I wanted to stop all my family and could we all sit here and listen to this together? Because maybe if you have 10 people listening to something so crazy all at the same time,
No.
they could put it together. Because I'm so glad you guys let me babble on about this for an hour or whatever, because I don't have to do this with anyone else.
What did you think about when he showed the light?
I don't know what that is. That's another one's patents. I didn't see it.
So they showed the light, and Joe's looking at it, and he's like, "This would immediately make somebody trip out." So imagine if that was this light is the key to DMT trip minus the DMT, or that way to get you to that next dimension.
What a great name
And
for
Joe
a
was just
strain.
like, "These would look awesome in my backyard." What? Sorry.
I said, what a great name for a weed strain.
What's
DM
that?
tree.
DM tree. That's great. I wish that was my job.
I said it, dude.
Coming up with weed
the best
names.
job ever. No. Naming horses, boats, and I guess weed
And
names.
weed, yeah.
Right, because you can't just.
Oh, and pun restaurants. I mean that.
Yeah.
Red Sea Sushi. Come on.
But dude, horses and boats. That's got to be the best. If that's just that's your job. I guess you could name airplanes too. I give it a 3. I only give it a 3. Like I said, I explained it off the rip. I just understood so little of what he was trying to get at. He's either a fucking super genius or batshit crazy or that perfect mix of both. Like I said, he's either going to win the Nobel Prize or he will be ridiculed. I don't know. I didn't understand 3/4 of it.
I mean, we're lucky that the government let him get through the podcast without fucking.
Mike Baker's in a fucking van.
Oh
Mike
my
Baker's in a
God.
van outside the studio just hitting the button.
Well, one tell will be if any allegations come up against him
Any more
Monday or
allegations, you mean?
Tuesday, something new developed.
Terrence Howard and Joe raped Jamie during podcast.
Yeah.
And I just
Also,
hope,
we found his pigeon lover.
I give it a 4.5. Just as
Well, no, I knew you were going to rate this as
I'm
high
gonna
as
give it
possible.
a 3.7, and I like it. I think he's probably on to something. I didn't understand most of it. I wish I was able to. I listened to parts more than once. I still didn't get it. I looked at the diagrams. I didn't understand.
In closing, I wish more than anything he hadn't started with I remember being in the womb. I think it was a really I don't think it was the best place to start. I could be wrong. I think if you just get into your patents and your ideas and stuff, I think it's maybe a little more palatable, but like right off the rip.
Yeah, no, it was a bad look. It reminded me a lot, actually, of the Blink-182 guy.
Tom DeLonge.
So Tom DeLonge, and I was listening to a podcast, actually. Sorry, I don't mean to talk about aliens in a podcast that's not about aliens, but I'm gonna. So Tom DeLonge was actually recruited by the government. He didn't know that he was a useful idiot. We've been through this already.
Sure.
They send him out onto Rogan because that's the biggest thing at the time.
Yeah.
To get his message out to the kids. But the whole thing is that the powers that be pick Tom DeLonge because they think he's relatable to the kids.
and he's
But
not.
meanwhile, it's like 10 years too late. They send him on Rogan. He fucks up horribly, which he did. He was supposed to go on there and like make Joe say, "Oh my God, this is a real thing." He fucks up. Joe ridicules him. They end up getting rid of him as the spokesperson,
He's no longer
and
a
they
useful
put in the scientists, the guys who were working with him, the Alessandros, the Mellons, the whoever. It's just interesting. Like we kind of watched it happen in real time. They picked this guy to be their spokesperson, and he fudges it.
Did Tom DeLonge say this?
No.
Well,
Tom-
who said this?
Just somebody was hypothesizing about what might have gone
Oh,
on.
okay.
know
You were
what I
saying
mean?
it like it was fact.
No. I don't know if this is fact. I'm saying
Okay,
this would be
gotcha.
interesting. I mean, I'm pretty certain that Tom DeLonge was a useful idiot. And looking back on it now, even like 10 years removed, it doesn't make any sense.
It's not 10 years removed. It's
I
like
mean, we're
5.
pretty close to 10 years removed,
No
I think.
way.
Yeah.
No way.
Yeah.
No way.
Yeah.
Pull it up. Jamie, pull that up.
from Joe,
I mean,
having
him,
Tom DeLonge
him being,
on.
Yeah.
oh yeah, we're fucking close for sure.
No way.
Yeah, he was a very early member, a very early.
We did his episode.
No, as a throwback.
Okay, well, either way, that was like a year before we started. So that's like 6 years. That's not close enough to 10 for me to be.
October 25th, 2017. 7
And
years
we're
ago.
now at 7 years. So, I mean, that's pretty close to 10, man.
I was going to give you 8. If it was 8, I would have been
You're
there.
closer to 10 than you are to 5.
No.
I mean, to 0. If you ask Howard, numbers don't mean shit anyways.
No, there are no straight lines.
All right, let's move on. The last one of the day.
2150 Greg Overton.
How many hours are we in?
2 and a bit. Listen, there's no fucking way you have more than 10 minutes of notes for this guy. It's impossible. There may be like 10 minutes of Comanche or Sioux talk.
Yeah, that's the only interest.
But other than that, like this was.
Oh, and Bigfoot.
And
But
even
we
then,
won't even talk about it because we already talked about it.
even then, the Comanche and Sioux talk, like this guy's just some guy who's into the lore. It's not like he's a historian. He's just like, I paint.
Read your note that you wrote, Kamar, because it's what got me hot under the collar before this episode even started.
I shouldn't have shown you
That's
that.
probably
Yeah.
why I brought this shit up, just out of spite. It was unconscious.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I didn't mean to.
Aliens, interdimensional, what to believe, memory is bad, fuck Bigfoot.
That's the
Bigfoot,
one.
that's
That's
the
the one.
triggering
that's
one, yeah.
That's the one that pushed me over the top. I'm so sick of
Wait,
listening to Joe.
read your next two notes. I believe it says fuck money twice.
No, I was actually in the middle of
listening to a song, a rap song.
he talked about getting high and thinking, oh, money is the root of all evil, and so they destroyed it. One of the I know this guy. I know this guy. I grew up with this guy. I am this guy. He's every guy. Like
he seemed like one of these guys who would listen to Joe all the time and like, but then pretend that he didn't listen to Joe.
Yeah.
You know,
Regurgitate
but he
Joe's
knew
things.
all the fucking
exactly.
buzzwords.
Yeah,
He knew
yeah.
all the inside fucking
I
things.
thought exactly the same.
well, they know
thing.
each other. They're not strangers. I don't think.
Strangers in the
Like,
night.
KLF was a rap group.
KLF.
Yeah, from
Okay, so you remember it?
Uh-huh.
So they took a camcorder and actually burnt $1 million before the internet, thinking it would be a crazy thing. Like
That is a
these-
crazy thing.
and they totally regretted it.
Well, no shit. They burnt a real $1 million.
£1 million.
Yeah, that's pretty
That's
stupid.
so dumb.
It's also
They were
crime,
high
isn't
on
it?
drugs. They were making all this money.
I mean, now you could turn it into clicks, which then gets you your $1 million back, like Mr. Beast styles. you
Yeah,
know?
I get what you're saying.
But back
yeah.
then,
Do you remember the school desks we used to sit in,
Yeah.
where the seat was attached?
Yeah, of
and when
course.
you first got to school, you're like, "Oh, that's the best! I have my own little
The worst.
spaceship to sit in." It was just like,
The
"This
worst.
is horrible." And I'd have rotten bananas in my desk and stuff. Yeah, I was that bad kid.
they constrained you in a chair
Yeah.
to make it unable to leave from one direction.
It's like a straitjacket, but not.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
No,
The
it's
whole
just
thing
like a
is crazy.
straitjacket.
So while you're in this prison every day from 9 till 4 o'clock or whatever the
Stuck
fuck
in
it
this
is,
fucking chair.
stuck in a desk, only able to go right like a goddamn fucking NASCAR driver. We are like paying taxes 4 times on the same dollar, and we're all just smiling and laughing and then sending our kids like it ain't no big deal. Where are you sending Sally? Oh, to the same fucking, I was going to say concentration camp, to the same prison camp that I went to as a kid. It's like you're bragging about your summer camp. What do you do at the summer camp? Well, they teach me false things about our economy and a math that isn't true. They tell me that the world is round and that I'll never succeed in life. Thanks.
Dude, you came in
Did they teach you
fiery
anything
today.
useful about, like, I don't know, how to make fire? Nope, that never crossed their mind.
You wanted a fire making class?
I think that would be pretty fucking smart if they did it. How about teaching us some things, some essential things? Teach me how to use a chainsaw. Had to learn that on my fucking own? This is not good. Those are things that are going to help you one day if you have a tree that you need to cut down in your backyard.
I believe that was shop class.
Yeah, and you know how many years I had shop class for?
2.
2.
Yeah.
You know what I learned? How to build a fucking keychain. It took up whole year 1.
You didn't get to the woodwork?
Year 2 was a clock.
Then they shit on the media for a while, talking about that. There was an article that said a 300% rise in measles cases.
And it was 3 cases.
35, but still. There is no accountability for the media anymore now.
I'm sorry,
It's just conjecture. It's not facts.
Can I just make a comment on this measles thing?
Yeah.
When you hear something like that, and then you like think back in your Rolodex to COVID and some of the stats they gave out to you, that you just accepted, like COVID is up 3 million%, or that's too much, 300%. And you're like, oh my God, we better go inside the house. And it's actually like 4 cases because it's a novel virus that we've never had before.
Yeah, it'll get you.
Like, dude, it's fucked up. Come on. It was so easy for them to scare the living shit out of us.
They got us.
They got us.
They got us, man.
He talked about galleries, and it's another thing. Like, he said art should stop people in their tracks. Like, whether you love it or you should be like, what the hell is that? Was his opinion. And there's this weird thing where you need gatekeepers in all arts, and then you don't.
No, you don't need gatekeepers anywhere.
Well, no, a lot of artists start with a gallery, puts them in, and that gets them going. And then all of a sudden,
That was the old way things work. Now, where
he
people
seemed
are
to think it still
selling
happened that way.
online. Well, I mean, he's a successful artist, so he still does it that way. You know what I mean? He'll continue to sell pieces for massive amounts of money in a gallery. If you're a young kid who probably never has a chance of getting into a gallery, and you're going to put your stuff online, you may end up just as famous as that guy. I can think of like so many graffiti artist guys who started showing their shit on Instagram who are so famous now. Like they go to Hong Kong and have these massive openings where it looks like it's a Taylor Swift concert. And you've never heard of this guy, you know? There are no more gatekeepers in art. That shit's long gone.
So he doesn't know that yet.
Same within music. I mean, they still are these people who control it, but I'm just saying there's alternate ways to make it now. Like,
Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah.
that didn't exist when I was coming up. Like Kamar said, there was only one way to succeed as an artist, and that was to end up in a gallery.
Yeah.
And if you didn't end up in a gallery, you probably weren't going to sell art.
Listen, I bet if you asked most young artists who are successful how they became successful, they would say social media.
I mean, now, yeah, for
That's
sure.
what I'm saying.
Yeah,
I bet 10 out of 10 of them would say I got discovered on social
I bet 10
media.
out of 10 of them. Yeah, agreed.
But I mean, you could argue that in a lot of like photography is 100%. Like if you asked a photographer 25 years ago, you know, how did you become a professional photographer? They'd probably have some story like, oh, you know, one photo got featured, and from there I followed a band.
Art. It's
and
all art.
Now it's like, oh,
it's music, it's painting, it's the written word. That shit is so much more accessible now.
But keep in mind, you know, like we mentioned music, and I was going to say movies, but like the gatekeepers, like, you know, let's take Oliver Anthony music. Like, guy probably got 100 million views on that fucking song.
Oh, what?
Oliver Anthony, remember rich men north of
He
Richmond?
should have taken the $8 million, by the way.
Oh, for sure.
He should have. But that's my point is like, music is a tougher one because like, you know, it's not a guarantee. Like you can have that one, pardon me, you can have that one flash in the pan. It doesn't necessarily mean you're going to then be Billie Eilish.
It's so true because I used to always use Justin Bieber as the example. Oh, he was on YouTube and that's where everybody, and then you find out that he had to, you know, blast
suck every dick.
Yeah, so there are gatekeepers. That's big black gatekeepers.
Yes, indeed. No, but like that's what I'm saying is like movies too. Like, listen, I agree that for a young filmmaker right now, you have everything at your fingertips where 30 years ago it would have been impossible unless you had so much money.
I mean, Kevin Smith, he's the only
but even then,
one who broke the mold.
No. But even then, that still cost him like
$13,000.
It was $25,000 for the music rights for
what?
Clerks.
Really?
To license the music. Yeah.
I thought he did the whole thing for $13,000.
No, I think what he said was he maxed out 3 credit cards, and I think they each had 25,000 on them.
Okay.
My point remains though, like
it's like nothing.
yeah, my point remains though is like, you know, there are I can't remember the movie they just shot, but it's like a huge big budget CGI movie, and like they pretty much shot it on the video version of the camera I have over there.
Yeah.
So like, but it's still important to realize like you're not going to be making a Hollywood big budget film unless you play the game. Like what I'm saying is like you could be releasing stuff on your own and maybe it's getting 1 million views. Maybe you're putting it on YouTube, it's getting a couple million views.
Yeah.
You're not making a big budget on-screen film unless you play that fucking game.
Not yet.
Sure.
But you can see the lines being pushed. And
I
a
agree.
perfect example of that is
Netflix.
the 2 Australian kids who were on Rogan.
Yeah, I agree.
Like those guys were nobodies and made a horror movie. Like we're pushing the lines.
Yeah. But what I mean though is, you know, like, listen, the streaming thing is slightly different because I believe that like, maybe call me a purist. Like if I make a film, I want that film on the big screen. It's great if Netflix buys it and I get $2 million and I get to keep making films. That's great for any filmmaker. I'm not taking away from their craft or their art.
You want it on the big screen.
What I'm saying is like, for me, I think that's the big difference.
Yeah, and we come from a generation where going to see movies was important.
Yeah.
And I just don't think it's that important
agree.
anymore. And I think if you ask somebody 10 years younger than yourself, they'll be like, I mean, going to the movies is okay, but it doesn't matter. You know what I mean?
Couldn't agree with you
You
more.
can still win the awards because they'll just release it in like
No, you cannot.
3 tiny theaters.
Yeah, okay. I was going to say you have to be released.
They just circumvent the rule a little bit. It's so you can still now have these movies win awards.
But even then, I would still give them the credit. You were on 40 screens.
Yeah. Well, again, I mean, let's see what happens. I imagine in the next couple of years, we'll probably it'll be even less important.
Once
than it is
all
now.
the movie theaters close in the next 10 years, what you're saying will be bang on. It'll all be fucking streaming.
Like the fact that movie theaters came back after COVID shows you how powerful the movie industry is, because that should have been the end of them.
I'm sorry.
That should have been the straw that broke the camel's back.
I know I'm squashing the fucking post, Joe Kamar, but you obviously saw that GME is,
Yeah.
GameStop, it's back.
so is AMC. They're both.
Do you still have?
No, I
You sold both?
Yeah, I sold both. Yeah. Even then, listen, my mom told me, she was like, AMC went crazy, or she was like, GME went crazy again. And I was like, I don't want to look. I don't want to know. And then so she pulled it up and she was like kind of looking at me, and I was like 253. It's not above 253, right?
253?
Yeah, that was the highest it went.
Okay.
I sold just below that.
What is it at?
Oh, it's only at like $70.
Yeah,
but still, it went up like 20% in a
that.
day.
Yeah. Listen, I had bought this weed stock right at the beginning. It halved
Yeah.
at one point.
Yeah.
So lost half, even more than half of what it was. It
but sometimes
finally
the stock
started
splitting is
going
good.
up.
Yeah.
It was a bad split, though.
Flat split, yeah.
It started going up. I went to, because I'm like, oh my God, it's at whatever. I had made like $7.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You can't win, man. The whole fucking game is rigged against you. And these guys are going to do this again with fucking GameStop, and they're just going to fucking find some other way to fuck them.
Well, you know what's interesting? The whole thing was Roaring Kitty, the guy who started the whole thing.
Yeah.
He came back out of nowhere and
just
posted
said,
on Reddit.
like, let's do this again.
I don't know what he posted. I didn't go look, but he posted something on Reddit, and overnight, both stocks.
There was a guy on some show I was listening to this week, and he was like, I have GameStop stock that I never sold, and it's because all I care about is sticking it to the man, and we can't do that by selling for a profit. We have to do that by holding. There are still guys out there who were like,
That's crazy to me, though, because
It's
the man showed you that they're in total control,
I
and
know.
that you're not going to get rich off
well,
this.
it makes you think that kitty guy
Yeah.
is just part of the fucking thing. You know what I mean?
No, I mean, listen, they did, like, a lot of people lost, a lot of the big guys lost a ton of money on that.
Well, apparently they're still losing money on it.
I mean, it begs the question, if Robinhood didn't do what they do, would they have crashed the fucking U.S. economy? Would I be filthy rich
But if
right
that
now?
cat guy, I don't know anything. I'm stupid when it comes to this. But if that cat guy comes out now,
Yeah.
kitty cat, whatever you
Roaring
call them,
Kitty, yeah. Keith
and
Gill is his name.
makes the stock price jump, doesn't that make a lot of money for all these rich guys who are stuck holding the bag on these stocks?
No. The rich guys holding the bag are shorting the shit out of
They're
GameStop
shorting, okay.
still.
It's
It will cost them
that's-
billions
okay.
and billions of dollars.
Have you guys seen
This is
Inception?
another way to fuck them.
Yeah, don't forget,
He
Simon,
can't be involved in the scam.
the only way out of a short position is to hope that the stock goes back down lower than where you bought it, or buy the stock off someone who's willing to sell, because you've borrowed the stock. So
right.
that was the whole thing, was if it kept going up, listen,
They wouldn't have the money to pay off the people they would owe the money to.
no, but you're insured. All that money's insured up to like $1 trillion.
So why did they care then?
Well, because they would have all gone under.
Yeah.
Because they have to, if they're still liable for all the money that they can pay. It's just what they can't pay is insured. This happened to Volkswagen. Volkswagen went to $1,000 a share during their short squeeze, and they came out and said, if you're short selling the stock, get out now, because we're about to crush you. Kamar so out of this. Let's just keep going.
Have you guys seen Inception?
Yeah.
It's the JRE movie game. The time has come again. For Matt and Simon to rack their brains to guess the budget in the box office. We all know they won't guess the year, and the Patreons are the real winners here at the JRE movie game.
Kamar, take it away, baby.
It's the movie game where Matt and Simon go head to head to find out what year a movie came out, how much it cost to make, and how much it made at the box office. This week we're doing Inception. Did you guys know that Inception was produced by Emma Thomas?
Weird.
Did you know Emma Thomas is the wife of Sir Christopher Nolan? And she's produced all his movies that have totaled $6 billion.
Wow.
That's a power couple, eh?
Yeah. They are very rich. Good for them. Good for
Starring
them.
Leonardo DiCaprio, Ken Wannabe, Joseph Gordon-Levitt,
Watanabe.
Marion Cotillard, Elliot Page, Tom Hardy, Cillian Murphy, Tom Berenger, and Michael Caine. Now, they didn't mention Inception in this one, but they did in the other one. You see what I did there?
Yeah, I see what you did there. Yeah.
Incepted the movie game into the podcast.
I'm ready with the year, Simon.
Shot in 6 countries from Japan to Canada.
Simon, do you have a year?
Yeah, I have a year.
What year do you have, sir?
2007.
I have 2012.
That's very interesting because it was 2010.
Right in
14
between.
years ago. We were playing music up at my cottage the other day and just like remarking at like some techno music. Can you believe this is 30 years old? Like this is classic rock or whatever it is, a Prodigy or something like that.
Okay, you ready?
Yep.
I'm ready too.
I said it cost $150 million to make, and it made 417.6.
I said 121 and it made 347.
You guys are really close on the budget. Not so much for the box office. $160 million to make the movie.
Watch, this thing made $1 billion.
$839 million.
Yeah.
Wow.
You really got it done, yeah?
That many people went to see a movie they didn't understand. That's crazy.
What were we thinking? It's a Christopher Nolan movie. Like, that
Yeah.
might be the dumbest fucking... That was stupid.
Yeah, you guys are a bunch of assholes.
Yeah, we really are.
They just tied up that all theories that we can't
Give
prove.
us another chance. Let's do The Dark Knight Rises.
All theories that you cannot prove are ridiculous religions, and the Northern Light solar flares happened, and none of the doom and gloom that Joe thought was going to happen. But I thought this was a cool guy, and any man on a podcast for the first time in a long time. But I guess he's a successful artist, so I give it a 3.
Oh my God, I give it a 1.5. Thank God it was only like an hour and 40 minutes long. This episode was just boring.
He was fine. It
Sure,
was just
I have no
boring.
problem with it. It was just
I'll
boring.
give it a 2 out of kindness.
Very nice of you.
Thank you, Matt.
All right, that's the show. If you made it this far, maybe you're willing to go a step further. We have a Patreon. If you want to support the show, you can head over to patreon.com/JREE podcast. You can support the show for as little as $5 a month. For that $5, you'll get the post show. It's the show after the show where we shoot the shit. You'll also get old episodes of This Won't Age Well, a show where we went back, listen to old episodes, the same shit we do here. What's wrong, Kamar?
Nothing.
Oh, okay. You're just looking deep into my eyes.
See how it's done.
Yeah, that's really it. Other than that, we love you. We hope you have a great week. We hope you enjoy your weekend. And as usual,
Keep your eyes open for Bigfoot.